It's time to get up and get your day started. Sports 56 mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Now, here are your hosts, Greg and Eli.
I have to be honest, it was tough to get up this morning. It is bitter cold outside, and you're nice and warm in your bed, and you look at that alarm clock go off, and you go, my gosh, 5:30 is early. But we do it for you Monday through Friday, each and every week. That's what we do here on Sports 56, and specifically Sports 56 mornings. We welcome you into the Wednesday, January 8th, 2025 edition. Greg Gaston, Eli Savoy, Elijah Seegers with you, broadcasting live and in color from the Family Leisure Studios. Family Leisure, it's where family and fun come together. The floor model sale going on right now. Deals even up to 50% off all floor models. They got to get rid of the 24 because they're bringing in the 2025. This is the best time for the best deals of the year. Check them out at Family Leisure, 2120 Whitten Road, just north of I-40. 26 degrees right now. 26 degrees. It will climb up to a robust 33 today. That's it. We may see a peak of the sun. I think we will, at least according to the forecast I am looking at. Then tonight, it dips down to 20 with mainly clear skies. And then tomorrow, you got a mixture of sun and clouds with a high of 38 before Armageddon, I guess, Thursday night into Friday with snow in the forecast. Coming up on the program today, college basketball last night, big night for the SEC. Number one goes down, and they go down hard. The Tennessee Vols lose. That means no more undefeated teams in Division I basketball. We'll talk about the college basketball evening. The Grizzlies will be back in action tomorrow when they host the Houston Rockets, but they were sort of in the news yesterday when it came to Jimmy Butler talk. We will discuss that on the program today. College football playoffs, Thursday, Friday night, the national semifinals, and NFL aplenty, from more NFL coaching news to a preview of the upcoming Wild Card weekend. We'll get to that on the program today. And the TGL, Tomorrow Golf League, got underway last night. Did you watch it? What did you think about it? We'll discuss that on the program today. Jerry Palm at 8:25 from CBS Sports, CBSSports.com. On both college football and college basketball. Take a look at his latest bracketology, where I believe he has Memphis as a 4 seed. To Michael Cole at 9:05 on all things Grizzlies, including the possibility of a trade. Who would that trade be with? And then at 9:25, we'll talk Memphis Tigers hoops with Parth Upajai. The Tigers back in action on Saturday when they host East Carolina. No midweek game for the Tigers this week. We'll take your calls and texts on the Sissy's Log Cabin listener lines at 901-360-8255. Good morning to you. Thanks for joining us. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
What's happening?
I tell you what, I don't know if this morning, I don't know if people are just getting prepared for the snow coming later in the week or what, but people this morning, there was way too many people this morning driving 40 mile an hour on the interstate. I don't know what was going on. I have no idea what's happening. But there were a lot of people just driving 40, 45 mile an hour with hazards on. A lot of hazards on this morning, just driving around on the interstates. I don't know what the hell was happening. But it was, they're just out there getting ready for Friday morning, like, hey, this is what I'm going to be doing Friday morning. I don't know. It was crazy. I was like, get out of the way. Just get out of the way.
Perhaps it was because of all the wildfires in Southern California.
Oh, I tell you what.
They were worried about that.
It's amazing how often those things happen out there. And every time I see the video and pictures, and I just get blown away by that. It's just, I can't imagine that. Just seeing these fires coming towards your home, it's amazing.
It's annual, and sometimes it's multiple times in a year. I have family that live out there. It's very scary. But getting back to your driving with the hazards on, we had some flurries yesterday. Could it be that people believe that those flurries settled down and then froze the ground, and then there's black ice? And they were worried about that.
No, I just don't think they know how to drive.
Well, we are the worst drivers in the country.
Yesterday,
not even a question about that.
Yesterday morning, it was
factual.
which this is pretty much a standard, but yesterday there just happened to be a few more of them, was the red light runners. Like they're I guess some people, a lot of people here in this city believe that red lights don't count before like 6 a.m. Like they're before 6 a.m. they're optional. Like you could if you, as long as you stop for a second. Some people don't even do that. Some people just run right through. But as long as you stop and look, you can go. Like they're just kind of there as a little warning sign, but not really that important until you hit a certain time of day.
What do you think the percentage is of Memphians who have a valid driver's license?
Oh, I think most people have a valid.
I'd go 75% have one. There's a good 25% that don't. They haven't renewed it. I'm not saying they never got the driver's license, but they haven't renewed it. Something like that. Come on. I mean, insurance is 50-50. If you get in an accident, 50-50 that somebody's going to have insurance.
Yeah, insurance, I don't know. But I don't. I guess I assume people have driver's license. I don't know, though.
Don't assume too much when it comes to that. I'm not going to assume that the TGL is going to be a hit, but it's interesting. And I did watch a little bit of it. I said yesterday I probably wasn't going to, but there wasn't much on, so I watched it. I was shocked, first of all, at that facility. I heard about that facility, but that's the first time I put my eyes on it. And wow, I didn't expect stadium seating and things of that nature. Maybe they had suites there too. I mean, there were people there and they were loud. It kind of gave me that live vibe. I covered a live event in Nashville, so I know all about that music playing while these guys are going. Of course, it's a lot different. They're playing on an 18-hole course outside. This is an indoor thing with a simulator. But as far as the competition is concerned, well, maybe it was because it was a blowout last night between the two teams, but it didn't do much for me, to be honest with you. It really didn't. They have to get the mic situation fixed. I like the fact that there's Tiger and there's Rory, and they gave their insight. Of course, they're the big backers of the league. I thought the host for ESPN did a great job. Matt Berry almost sounded like he, has been around, and this has been around for years and years. He knew the rules and all that like the back of his hands. Really good job by him, I thought. Scott Van Pelt, who's always around golf with ESPN, did the halftime thing. But as far as the actual competition is concerned, who cares? These guys fire one into the screen. It's unique, the golf holes. I know we saw the volcano on the one, the Grand Canyon on the other, one right on the beach. But it's not like those dudes were missing the fairways. A couple of times. Fowler put one out of play a couple of times. I think Oberg maybe did it once. But early on, Oberg hitting those putts. They're putting on a practice green, basically. But I know the thing moves around and the undulation and all that. But I don't know. I don't see this as something that, and I'm a golf fan, a big golf fan, as are you, but I don't see this as something I want to watch all the time unless I'm bored and there's nothing going on.
Yeah, it's I watched the entire thing. I thought it was okay. There's certainly some things that broadcast wise, and they've admitted that they're going to make changes probably as it goes along. I thought there would be more. You'd be able to hear the players talking and maybe a little bit back and forth, but it was so. The music would be so loud. Sometimes I think they were talking. They would be talking, but you couldn't hear them. And Matt Berry would try to talk to them, and they didn't really respond. Or if they did respond, you couldn't hear it. Some of that technical stuff, certainly, I think they'll get worked out and figure that out. If I would get rid of the intermission. I don't see the need for the 10-minute break.
Right. Were they tired?
In between the alternate shot and the individual stuff like that. I think that kind of, and the fact that the match was over at that time certainly doesn't help. Like if it was a really close match and you could be like, oh, you just still don't know what's going to happen. But that last night the match was over already. So it was really kind of like, well, now they're just coming back out for this individual stuff and it doesn't matter. Like I
think it's basically to get Scott Van Pelt on and involved, to be honest with you. I don't understand why they have an intermission, But the, I mean, the other, I think like
some of those holes are really interesting, and I don't mind watching the simulator golf stuff. I think it's some what I really like is looking at the data that they give you,
swing
ball
speed, all that,
swing
yeah.
speed, some of that type stuff, just to see where those guys are and how they compare to each other. But Oberg's putting early on was insane. Like, that dude just made everything. Like, I was like, my gosh, because you could tell, especially on chip shots, that trying to figure out those greens and how they're going to release and spin and all those things, like, that's still a little bit new to them, and I guess they'll get it figured out. Like, the beginning of it, I don't know if it's going to take that long to get going. Like, they did like the starting lineup introduction type thing. Like, I don't need to see that. Like, just introduce the guy when he goes to hit his first shot. Like, tell me who he is. I don't need him coming out the tunnel and all that stuff. And I don't know if that will eventually go away once they've kind of gotten through everybody, or how they plan on doing that. But
do you like the shot clock? There's like nobody.
I love it. Love it.
But do you think if there wasn't, they would have taken a really long time in simulation golf? They would have taken forever like they do in a real course?
I mean, they may not take as long as they would on a real course, but I'm not going to – anything that makes them play faster, I'm not going to –
I mean, nothing was close.
be unhappy about.
I saw one time when Schauffele was up there and the clock ran out, but then it restarted again. I didn't know, like, they called again. There's a timeout you can call. I don't know. It's just – I think they're reaching here. It may excite some people. And you can let us know by texting in at 901-360-8255. Elijah, did you watch any of it? The TGL?
I was completely tuned in on college basketball, so I did not catch it.
Okay.
I would love – my hope is that with this shot clock, that they could somehow put that into the PGA Tour. If they could take that and put it on the PGA Tour, it'd be great.
Live, they have the clock that winds down to start. And of course, it's a shotgun start. So, boom, the buzzer goes off, the fireworks go off, everybody hits their ball. Now, as far as individual shots, I don't think they have a clock. But, yeah, that would be really cool. The line of the night, though, was Shane Lowry when he said, I'm going to be the Scotty Scheffler of indoor golf. Did you hear that one?
I did not hear that. My favorite line from Shane Lowry was after he hit the bunker shot, and he said, I hit that one like or what did he say? I hit that one like me, a little chunky.
Yeah. Although I think he slimmed down a little bit. But anyway, they'll do it every Tuesday. Is that correct?
There are a couple of Mondays.
Okay.
There's some Monday. I think there's like 3 Mondays. And there's a couple of weeks where there's 1 week where there's 3 matches. Like, they start at like 1 in the afternoon and they go like 1, 4, 7, something like that. There's a couple of other weeks where there's 2 matches. There's 15 total matches, and I think they're doing it over, I think the actual regular season ends up being like 11 weeks. It goes till, I think the last week of their regular season is right at the beginning of March or end of March. I can't remember when it was. And then they got the little playoffs.
You want to get it all done by the Masters.
And but yeah, they're like the middle of February. There's a week where I think it's on a Monday where they're doing 3 matches. Texter says they need more player interaction and smack talk. Yeah, again, and the thing is, like, again, I don't know. Like, sometimes they might be talking, but I don't know that we're hearing it. Like, that's the thing. Like, there was so much noise, I guess. Like, sometimes you would hear like the players in the background saying something. Like, I don't know what they're saying at all, because you got the music and you got Matt Berry might be talking or whatever.
And people were talking,
and
in
you're
the crowd.
like, I'm not sure what's happening right now. But it's because that's what I was hoping for, more of that myself, like a little bit more. And again, last night's group, not the greatest for that. You know, if you have a Justin Thomas and Tiger playing each other, something like that, you might. I mean, last night didn't have the greatest talkers in the world.
You got Tiger next week. Do you have Rory next week as well? Is it Tiger versus Rory's team?
No, their thing. Rory doesn't play his first match for 2 weeks, and then I think the following week is Tiger versus Rory.
Okay, but Tiger next week will make it more exciting. I mean, this is up his alley. He created it with Rory, and he doesn't have to walk 18 holes, for goodness sakes. But he will have fun. He will do a lot of trash talking. There'll be probably side bets going on and all that good stuff. Now, Scotty Scheffler's not involved. I looked at the rosters. There are 6 teams, 4 players per team, 24 players, but you only play 3 players. So one has to sit out. And I assume they sit out the whole night, right? They can't come in like at the 10th hole or whatever when they do the individual. But no Scheffler. I noticed there was no Spieth. I don't think he's playing as well. But most of the big names are involved.
Yeah,
Matsuyama, all this. Yeah.
I mean, it is it's the stars of the PGA Tour for sure for the most part. I will say this: I would love to be able to go play in that facility.
Oh, that would be cool.
that place looks.
That'd be great.
That place is awesome. That the technology again with that green is crazy with the way they can change it and change the undulation and all that stuff. It's pretty crazy.
Do you know how much money it costs to build that?
No, I can't even possibly imagine.
I don't know. Elijah, if you could find how much that costs, it blew me away because I didn't expect that. I didn't expect it to be, a simulator in a bar, some little tiny thing. But I certainly didn't expect that, with all the seating and the fans. I like that because it would be really boring if it wasn't the fact that you have these fans. They're loud. There's the music, but that's that live factor, which I think I think that's a combination of things for what is an outdoor event, but kind of taking the whole music thing, that vibe, that interaction into this indoor golf. So again, it is what it is.
It's a $50 million facility.
Wow, $50 million. Looks every bit of it.
It ain't cheap.
It ain't cheap. Well, last night, as Elijah said, he was focused on college basketball. Big night nationally and a big night in the SEC. I'll start, though, with a game outside of the SEC, and that was the ACC game between the Duke Blue Devils and the Pitt Panthers, in which Duke won 76-47. A blowout win, not much to the game as far as being competitive. But the Cooper Flag dunk, if you folks didn't see it, Google it. What did you think of that, Elijah?
Man, he's going to have plenty more like that in his career.
I mean, look, he has the ability to shoot, defend, rebound. I didn't know he had those type of hops. I mean, that was a poster among posters. And we had a night last night where we had a great, great dunk from LeBron James. Zion Williamson returned for the Pelicans. He had a big dunk. He's always going to have a massive dunk. But that dunk by Cooper Flag, Eli, last night was one of the best I've seen in a long time in college basketball.
Yeah, and he's one of the best. I mean, he's just so smooth. Like, for the fact that he's just a freshman,
he's mature, isn't he?
It makes it look very effortless. Like everything he tends to do, even that dunk was very effortless. Like it was just, you're like, wow, okay, he just dunked that on that guy. He is special. He is just absolutely special, man, and he is fun to watch. And he just does every single night. The stats. I mean, 19, 10, 5 assists last night. He just absolutely every night does a little bit of everything, and yeah, he could provide some stuff. And that poor dude that he got it on. Yeesh, that's a rough one because that's one. You'll
never live it down.
That's going to be shown for a while. That one's going to be shown for quite some time, and you're going to be. I would not, if I was that guy, wouldn't want to watch the NBA draft this year because when Cooper Flag goes number one, they're going to show that dunk a whole bunch,
a whole lot, and then they're going to show the reaction. Was it Zion James who had that reaction where he covered his face like he couldn't believe it?
I don't know who it was. I don't know if it was him or not.
I think it was James, right? Was it? Yeah. And so as soon as I saw that, it reminded me of what? What would you guess? Think about the history of Duke. Remember when, and I don't know how you can forget, but when, what's his name, hit the full court shot, the former wannabe owner of the Grizzlies.
Christian Laettner.
And then
the full court shot. Yeah.
Well, no, that's right. He hit the turnaround at the top of the key, but the pass was like a full court pass. And then, was it Thomas who had the reaction like he was crying? Was it Thomas Hill for Duke?
I don't know.
But that when you look at those side by side, the Zion James reaction to Cooper Flag's dunk, and then the reaction, I think it was Hill, but I'm not 100% sure. Somebody will text in. That reaction to Laettner and that turnaround game winner in Philadelphia, if I remember correctly, it's almost the same exact reaction. But it was something special, and that guy is something special. So yesterday, we had Dave Hooker on the show to talk Tennessee Vols athletics. And we talked about the season that the basketball team was having to this point, undefeated, the only undefeated team remaining in Division I basketball. And lo and behold, in their second SEC game, they go to Gainesville and get stomped on by the Gators. A very good team, the Gators, but they beat them 73-43 for the Vols' first loss. The Vols, you talk about a poor shooting night. For the first half of that game, they were 4 of 29 from the field. They were done at halftime. For the game, they end up 21.4%. They were 12 of 56. They made 12 shots from the field. From three-point land, they were 4 of 29, 13.8%. Chaz Lanier, 3 of 16. Jordan Gainey, 1 of 11. It was absolutely atrocious. I guess if you're going to get knocked off from the ranks of the unbeaten, you're going to get taken down, you might as well go down in a fiery ball because they were never in this game.
No, they were not. Last night was one of that. That's the type of bets that you love when you never have to worry about them. Florida shot under 40% for the game, and they were only 6 of 20 from three themselves, and they beat the number 1 team in the nation by 30.
Wow, that's hard to believe they shot. I thought they shot better.
Like Lanier was getting good looks and just nothing. Like it was unbelievable watching them shoot the basketball. Like, my God, there's nobody that can make a single shot. Like, it just, I expected them to lose. I figured because I think they were walking into a hornet's nest with Florida coming off the loss that they were coming off of and on the road, all of that stuff. It was right for Tennessee to lose the game. I would have never in a million years guessed they would have lost by 30.
I am the worst gambler in the world. Yesterday on the show, I said it, and you said it, and everybody knew that Florida was going to win this game. Florida was going to win this game. But I was getting points, and I was getting great odds, and I thought, well, maybe Tennessee will hang. They'll lose a close one. Maybe they'll lose by 3 or 4. I was getting 5 points, really good odds, and I coupled that with the West Virginia game because I loved Arizona in that one. Loved Arizona. So instead of making a separate bet, I parlayed it and lost. But the odds get me sometimes. When I see those numbers and I go, wow, that's a lot. That's an undefeated team. Maybe they can keep it close. And I lost that bet 5 minutes into the game. I mean, it was a demolition. Also last night in the SEC, number 6 Kentucky, after the big win over Florida at Rupp, went down to Athens in Georgia and lost 82-69. The SEC already is going to be what it was in football, cannibalism. There's going to be a lot of that going on right now.
Going on the road in the SEC is going to be brutal. Like it's going to be tough, other than maybe a couple of places, but it's going to be brutal for these teams when you're trying to go on the road in the SEC because you're playing a good team. You're playing a team that pretty much every team you're playing is a tournament-worthy team, and many of them are, top of the bracket tournament teams, and it's going to be a brutal season for some of these on the road.
Well, Auburn and Mississippi State both went on the road last night. They both won. Auburn won. Tough game. They won over Texas 87-82 in Austin. And Mississippi State, they're 14th ranked. Auburn, by the way, 2nd. Mississippi State went to Vandy and won 76-64. Again, every time Mississippi State wins, that loss that Memphis had at home to Mississippi State looks kind of better. If Mississippi State just keeps winning, they are a good basketball team.
State's really
yes,
good.
They are.
And Vanderbilt is better, but they're still not. They're one of those teams that you might be if you consider it a little bit of a easier night, but it's still not super easy. But Mississippi State, they were up by 20 at one point in that game. They dominated that game. Jani Broome last night, 20 points, 12 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 blocks, 2 steals. That dude is. Again, he makes it look easy. Like he doesn't. He looks like he's not playing that hard most of the time. And then at the end of the night, he puts up stat lines like that in every single game as they go on the road and get a win. It's Auburn which now will be the number one team in the nation as long as they don't lose this weekend. They are the best team in the nation.
There's no doubt in my mind, Janai Broom is the player of the year, although Cooper Flagg's going to get a lot of consideration. The one guy going into the season that many thought would probably run away with it, Hunter Dickinson, not having the great season so far. But I think Broom is the player of the year, but we got a ways to go. Tonight in the SEC, Ole Miss at Arkansas. As you mentioned, it's hard to win on the road. This one, I love Arkansas. -3.5. Arkansas got clobbered against Tennessee. They're going to come back at Bud Walton, be angry. I think they're going to play really well, and I think this one's going to be a tough one tonight for Ole Miss.
Well, the problem for Ole Miss in that game is Arkansas has size, and Ole Miss does not. So it'll be, it's a very tough matchup for Ole Miss, and especially on the road where going into Arkansas is always a difficult place to go play.
I just don't want to talk myself out of that and end up playing some stupid parlay and lose again. Alabama on the road at South Carolina. They're 10.5-point favorites. Alabama number 5 in the country. And then you have a battle of ranked teams. Texas A&M number 10 at number 17, Oklahoma. Texas A&M just beat Texas by 20. Oklahoma lost for the first time. I guess we'll really find out if Oklahoma is as good as that record tonight at home, right? You would think at home they should be able to beat Texas A&M, but I don't know if they'll be able to. Texas A&M is really good.
Yeah, I think Texas A&M will go in there and win it, but on the road, because I just don't think Oklahoma's as good. Oklahoma's record is they're not as good as their record, and if I'm not mistaken, I don't think Texas A&M has lost when they've had their full roster, which I believe they have their full roster for tonight. Texas A&M's really good. I would expect them to go into Oklahoma and win, but it certainly won't be easy, and I'm not going to be surprised at all if Oklahoma wins on their home floor.
Our buddy John Neal says, he texts in, he says, talking about SEC teams, what about Missouri? That Memphis win against them is looking better and better every game. I think Missouri's going to get pounded in the SEC. I think they're going to lose a bunch of games.
Well, they end up winning by how much last night?
Yeah, they won, but I think in the overall scheme of things, they're going to be towards the bottom of the league. Bottom third.
They've already got more wins this year than they did last year.
Yeah, no, they're a good team. Don't get me wrong, but come on, it's a gauntlet in the SEC. I just don't see them being one of the top 8 or 10 teams in the league. I could be wrong.
Well, no, I mean they're not going to be a top half of the league. I mean no.
Yeah, and you could be. You can't be at the bottom, but you could be in that latter half and still make the NCAA tournament without even a problem in the SEC, as long as you did a good job in your non-conference and won some games in the SEC. There's going to be teams that could end up a game or two under 500 in the league and still be in consideration for an at-large.
Oh, God, there's going to be teams well under 500 that get at-larges probably.
Yeah. So, but Missouri, I don't think.
I mean, if they're getting right now, the people have them like with 12 or 13 in. Obviously, they're some of those are going to be well below 500 in the conference.
It'll weed out a little bit. It won't weed out that much, but it'll weed out a little bit. I don't think you're going to see 13 teams from the SEC in the NCAA tournament. But Missouri's improved from last year's team. Memphis won there in Columbia. Look, Memphis won, so that's not a problem, right? It's not like they lost and you're hoping that team just wins every single game so the loss doesn't look as bad. But the win is fine. You won at home. You took care of business against Missouri. Missouri will take some hits in the league, in my opinion. Corky's Ribs and Barbecue. You never take a hit there. It is very inexpensive for some of the best barbecue you'll ever put in your mouth. Slow smoked, absolutely delicious. They've been around for 4 decades, serving up that delicious slow-smoked barbecue, the ribs, the Q, the barbecue nachos, the cheese and sausage plate to get things started. And then if you want to go outside the barbecue family, they got an award-winning catfish plate, tamales and burgers, and great desserts as well. Located at Poplar Avenue in Memphis, Poplar Avenue in Collierville, Germantown Parkway in Cordova, and Goodman Road in Olive Branch. Any occasion, anniversary, family reunion, birthday party, graduation, get together, all you need to do is give them a call in Cordova or in Olive Branch where they have the private party room. Corky's Ribs and Barbecue, open for lunch and dinner 7 days a week. You're tuned in to Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Be sure to follow us at Sports 56 WHBQ on Twitter, Facebook, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube to watch live video of our shows. Stay up to date with station events and have chances to win prizes. Don't miss out on anything that's going on. Follow us at Sports 56 WHBQ.
Briggs Powder Coating for a beautiful finish every time. Briggs Powder Coating specializes in automotive, ornamental, residential, and industrial coating. With two big airlines and the largest batch ovens in the Mid-South, Briggs can accommodate all of your powder coating needs. Locally owned and operated since 2002, Briggs Powder Coating will customize a beautiful finish just for you. Drop by or call to see how Briggs Powder Coating can bring color to your life. 901-367-2771 or BriggsPowderCoating.com.
You know, I think people forget there's a Central Barbecue location in South Haven.
And that's on us.
Well, you...
What does that mean?
Well, you're the spokesperson for Central Barbecue. It's your responsibility to remind people there's a Central Barbecue in South Haven.
It's very convenient that I'm the spokesperson when there's responsibility to be taken.
Just mention the Central Barbecue location in South Haven.
Got a lot to remember. There's the location on Butler downtown. There's a location on Summer, on Poplar.
And Getwell Road in South Haven. How hard is that?
I've heard you call yourself a spokesperson for Central Barbecue.
No, it was just to pick up chicks.
Progressive presents Employee Small Business Edition. Today's recipient from Lucky Larry's Landscaping, Larry! Larry saved his business money with a quick commercial auto quote from Progressive. Does it help he's his own marketing manager, accountant, executive assistant, and never been late? Technically, yes, but saving really put him over the edge. So, Larry, give Larry a round of applause. Be your own Larry. See if you could save in as little as 7 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company. Locally owned and operated for over 40 years, Automatic Gates Construction tailors custom gate solutions for all your residential, commercial, and industrial needs, including repairs, maintenance, and installation. Automatic Gates Construction specializes in designing and installing automatic gates and fencing that seamlessly blends security, functionality, and aesthetic appeal. Elevate the safety and efficiency of your property with a premium gate solution. Automatic Gates Construction at myautomaticgates.com.
Good morning. We've had a couple of accidents already out here on some side streets. Just give yourself extra time on the interstate. It's trying to build even more on I-40 coming in from Fayette County into Shelby County. Still positive at the moment on 385 Billmore Parkway leaving Collierville, headed into Shelby County. Hey, Weimer's Jewelry, 7525 Highway 64 is your full-service, family-owned jewelry store. And they're right here in Memphis. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Back to Sports 56 Morning on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Here once again, Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
Welcome back, everybody. So Tennessee next plays at Texas after getting crushed last night by Florida. That'll be on Saturday.
Couple of texts on the Sissy's Log Cabin listener line at 901-360-8255. Ron texts in, says, if you think Tennessee's winning the national championship, think again.
Yeah, I never thought they
are capable of winning the national championship.
They're capable. I don't think they will. But yesterday when we talked to Dave Hooker, I said I think it's paramount that they get to the Final Four with this type of team. And every year, Barnes has a team that's capable of making that type of run. And they've made some good runs, but they haven't gotten to the NCAA championship. I mean, I think they have a team to do so, but I'm just a little suspect whether or not they can get there.
I mean, Chaz Lanier is not going to have many nights like last night. 3 for 16, 1 for 9. I mean, he's one of the best three-point shooters in the country and just had an awful, awful night from the very get-go. Missed with the first 5 shots and was getting good looks. But again, it's hard to win the championship. Obviously, it's hard to say anybody's going to win the championship, but they are certainly one of the teams that are capable of it. But it will be, again, the SEC is going to be such a absolute battle every single game that it's going to be tough for all those teams. They're going to come out of there. It'll be a rough go throughout the league season and the SEC tournament. Maybe better than the NCAA tournament. Another text is, how much should Tennessee drop in the polls after a 30-point loss? Again, in the end, it's a loss to a top 10 team on the road. Like, yes, it's by 30, so maybe that hurts them a little bit more in the eyes of voters, but you're losing to a top 10 team on the road, so this isn't like it's some horrendous loss.
No, it all depends also on how everybody else did. And at least last night, Auburn won number 2, Iowa State won number 3. We'll see what happens with other ranked teams in action tonight. And then, of course, the games on Saturday. But they shouldn't drop that much.
That texter also talking about the TGL. That was another thing I forgot to mention. They said the either team should be able to hammer at any time. You are correct, texter, because that's the way golf's. Like when we play in our golf with the hammer, either team can hammer at any time, and then you can hammer back if you want, all that stuff. That is one thing from that TGL last night. The hammer was not used nearly enough.
Well, what is the rule? Can they hammer at any time?
They cannot. That's what he said. They should be able to.
So how many times can they? Just once?
Well, one team has possession of the hammer.
Okay, I saw the one time when Schauffele threw it right before Lowry swung his club. Mm-hmm. That's the only time I think I saw it all night, right? But I didn't watch the whole.
They used it early. The other team used it early. That's why they got it. But then once the other team got it back, they just didn't use it because they didn't need to, and it would be dumb to give really possession of it back. But yes, when we play in our golf, either team can hammer at any time. It's not. You don't have to wait. There's no possession of the hammer. Everybody has a hammer.
Okay, and all that does.
And I also would like it to be a real hammer.
Yeah, I saw those.
I don't like the rag. I don't like that. To me, there should be an actual hammer.
I saw those suggestions on Twitter. Okay, that just doubles the point value for the hole, correct? Yes. Okay. So if you can hammer at any time, I don't get it. I mean, you're getting your tails kicked. Why should you have the opportunity to get back into it with some cockamamie thing? Like if you're out there with your buddies and you're down 6 holes, why should you get the chance to come back? You're done. You're losing that game. You're paying off your.
Well, you got to win the holes. Like you just double it, you might lose. Like you lose 2 points. Again, in ours, they're doubling bets. It's not about holes, but
no, I understand that bets or holes.
And the other team has the chance to decline it. They can turn it down.
Oh, they can. They can decline it.
You could see the hole.
Nobody will ever decline it, will they?
Well, if you're getting killed in that hole, if you can't win the hole, you decline it.
Oh, so the hammer doesn't have to happen right before the hole starts? It could be right in the middle of the hole?
Be right before a putt. That's the other team did it right before a putt.
So it's the one. So it would be just that one putt.
It's the hole.
It's the hole.
You got to win the hole.
Okay.
It comes down to winning the hole. It doubles what the value of the hole is.
It makes sense to me, but it's stupid. I think it's stupid.
The other team used the hammer right before they had a putt because they knew they couldn't lose because the other team had already made par or bogey. And so he either makes this putt and they win the hole or they miss it and they tie the hole. And so they hammered. The other team could decline it, but they accepted it. He made it, and they get 2 points.
But again, if you're a team that's cruising like that team last night, you're up, let's say, 8 holes in your match with your buddies. You're up. Why do you give them any room to come back? Why would you say yes to it? It's like, no, we'll just keep playing for the one. Why would I give you a chance to double?
Because you just keep winning the holes and you keep blowing them out more. Again, on ours, it's not about holes. It's about bets.
I know, but we're talking about holes here. What are you getting? How is it advantageous for you? You're just giving that team a chance to get closer. It doesn't give you more money.
Or you're giving yourself a chance to get further ahead.
You're already up 8 holes.
So
What's the matter? You're not going to lose.
Exactly. If you're not going to lose the hole, then who cares?
I wouldn't do it then. I wouldn't. If I'm already in control, I wouldn't get. It's just like when you're in control, you're kicking tail. I guess the double or nothing thing's a little bit different because you will get double your money. That makes sense. You're not getting double your money here. You're getting 2 holes, but you're giving a team an opportunity to get back into it when you already have it pretty much won. I don't know. The hammer to me is stupid. I never even heard of it until you brought it up yesterday. I didn't even know that was a thing, to be honest with you. I heard of double or nothing, but anyway. One note about the Memphis Tigers, who will not play until Saturday when they play host to East Carolina. Yesterday, P.J. Haggerty was named to the John Wooden Award watch list top 25. So they narrowed the list down to 25 from what it was originally, I think maybe 50. And P.J. Haggerty, well-deserved, is on that list.
Texter said, if you lose a hole, you should be forced to take an alcohol shot. Shane Lowry might have been throwing holes if that were the case.
He said he was drinking Diet Coke, though, wasn't he? Is that what he said?
When he was celebrating after he was done. But yeah, if you give him a chance to take a shot, he might be like, you know what? I'll miss this putt. You're trying to give me this putt? No, I don't want it. I'm going to go ahead and miss this one. I need a shot right now.
Hey, do shots while you're playing. That's what I said yesterday, kind of tongue in cheek. Are these guys drinking and eating while they're playing this thing? I mean, why not? Have a good old time, man. These guys are like buttoned up, all tight. Wasn't as loose as I thought it would be. I think it will be in the future. I think it certainly will be with Tiger Woods next week. But I'd love to see these guys like pounding a beer down, eating some chicken wings on the side and having to clean those hands before they step back up. Make it a little bit more like it would be for us when we go and play on a simulator. All right, back to some basketball and the NBA. The Grizzlies will play tomorrow night. They will host the Houston Rockets. G.G. Jackson practiced yesterday with the Memphis Hustle. So he is getting close to being able to return after not having played 1 second this season. I know that Taylor Jenkins spoke about Ja Morant. He's out of his sling or protection that he had, and he's getting very close to returning as well. But in the meantime, you still have guys that are in and out of the lineup. Des Bane was out for the last game. Luke Kennard was in for the last game. We've had almost every player miss several games this year, with the exception of, it seems like Jalen Wells hasn't missed anything. But the Rockets will come in with Dylan Brooks, the former Grizzly, with Steven Adams, the former Grizzly. It'll be a physical brand of basketball. We'll see who's available for the Grizzlies. But that's really good news to hear about G.G. Jackson.
Yeah, we are at 5 weeks since they said it was going to be 6 to 8. So with the fact that he went and practiced with the Hustle, that would indicate that he's probably going to be on the shorter side of that 6 to 8 estimate. So yeah, that's great to hear. Hopefully he'll be able to be back here within the next week or so, and Ja the same. Hopefully he'll be back here within the next week or so. It'll be interesting to see what the injury report today, when it comes out for tomorrow's game, has amongst Bane, which I would assume he's going to be back, and then is there any chance that maybe we get Ja to the doubtful stage on this game?
No surprise, yesterday Chris Haynes reported that Jimmy Butler had no interest or has no interest in coming to Memphis. Of course, the trade rumors that have been out there for a couple of days. Jimmy Butler, again, according to Chris Haynes, no interest in coming to Memphis. There are so many of those players who are rumored in a trade over the years that when Memphis's name pops up, that always seems to be the case. There's no interest in coming to Memphis. I don't know why you wouldn't have some interest in wanting to play with Ja Morant, Jaren Jackson Jr., Des Bane, a team that is capable of making a legitimate run to win an NBA title.
They would love to play those guys if those guys all played in Miami, Dallas, or L.A. or New York. Like, they just don't. It's all about market. They don't. And again, there are still people who will try and argue with me when I say that, but they'll still claim that no, it really doesn't affect. No, they don't want to come here.
But we're talking about for a half a year or maybe a year and a half to fulfill your contract. We're not talking about coming here and having to live your life here. And we love it. We're here in Memphis. I've been here in Memphis for 30 years. A lot of people would rather be at, Los Angeles and Miami. I understand that, certainly do. But you're talking about, again, basically renting out your services to try to win a natty. It happened for Kawhi Leonard in Toronto. Then again, Toronto is a pretty special city in its own right. But certainly not one I think that the players would opt for the most part. Let's go and play in the snow in December and January and February in Toronto, Canada. No, they'd still rather go, like you said, to a Miami, to a Dallas, to a Los Angeles. But in the case of Jimmy Butler or in the case of any player out there, you have to look at the team and what the chances are. Because it's not all about the money. You're getting paid. You've already been paid handsomely. You're a rich person. You're trying to win another title. You're trying to win maybe a first title for whatever player that may be. So you want to go, I would think, the best situation you can be in to try to make a run. So that brings up, again, the question, Cam Johnson, somebody else, how committed are the Grizzlies in trying to improve this roster? We'll talk to DeMichael Cole about this at 9:05. Again, on the surface, there'll be some people that look at the roster and go, no, they just got to be healthy. They're good enough to win it all. I think they're really, really good. Even when they're all healthy, you can only play 5 guys at a time, and some of these guys will be left out of the rotation. Sure, they can make a run. Can they win it all? I don't think so. Do I think they're better than Oklahoma City, even healthy? No, I don't. Can you make a move to make them better? Maybe. I don't know what that move would be. So I don't know what's going on, and nobody knows in the mind of Zach Kleiman and the front office personnel of whether or not there is a legitimate move to be made. They may not make a move at all. But, the Jimmy Butler thing, again, I understand Butler can say whatever he says, assuming Chris Haynes' story is accurate, and I would imagine it is. But it just kind of makes you unhappy. I wanted to say something else, but it's a family show. It makes you unhappy when you hear those things about players not wanting to be at a certain place and you happen to live in that certain place.
I told you this the other day, that he wouldn't want to be here. Like, these guys don't want to play here. It is what it is. And if you're a superstar who believes you can control where you play, you go to the 5, 6, 7 markets that they all want to go to.
Last night, the Pelicans saw the return of Zion Williamson. They lost to the Timberwolves at home, 104-97, but Zion, a pretty triumphant return, 22 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists. The question is, how long can he stay healthy? Which is the question I ask about John Morant all the time. Tonight, got a little history being made. The first time in NBA history that will feature a team on a 15-game winning streak, the Oklahoma City Thunder, and a team on a 10-game winning streak, the Cleveland Cavaliers. 6 o'clock Central Time tonight, the Cavaliers and the Thunder, the 2 number 1 teams in their respective conferences.
Yeah, 61-9 combined records. That's pretty good.
Have you expected the Cavaliers to fall off a little bit after that blazing start?
Yeah, I thought they would slow down some. Certainly I didn't see 31-4 coming for Cleveland.
Did they make an all-season move or just decide to retain everybody? It's pretty much the same guys, isn't it?
Pretty much the same core group.
Yeah, they're playing absolutely outstanding basketball. Okay, we'll take a timeout. We'll come back. Got some Memphis Tigers football news to get to and a few other things as well. We'll take your calls and texts on the Sissy's Log Cabin listener lines at 901-360-8255. Then Jerry Palm joins us at 8:25, DeMichael Cole at 9:05, and Parthu Pajai at 9:25.
I mean, you look at that game tonight, the third best record in the league, Boston, has more losses than these 2 teams combined.
Yeah, it should be a great regular season game, I would imagine. I don't think it would be a lopsided game either way. I'd be surprised if it is. You're tuned in to Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
We are Real Sports Talk. Sports 56 WHBQ. Available on your radio dial at 560 AM and 98.5 FM, as well as around the world online at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere by downloading the Sports 56 app. And at home, just say, Alexa, play Sports 56. Stay tuned in to Real Sports Talk. Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Tito's handmade vodka is America's favorite vodka for a reason. From the first legal distillery in Texas, Tito's is 6 times distilled till it's just right and naturally gluten-free, making it a high-quality spirit that mixes with just about everything. From the smoothest martinis to the best Bloody Marys, beyond the bottle, Tito's has gained a reputation for giving back, teaming up with nonprofits around the world to serve its community and do good for dogs. Make your next cocktail with Tito's and learn more at Tito'sVodka.com. 40% alcohol by volume, mainly 80 proof, crafted to be savored responsibly.
T-Mobile
5G home internet keeps getting better. Get our fastest connection loaded with gigs. Get T-Mobile's best home internet starting at $55 a month with autopay and any voice line. Plus, Price Lock. We won't raise your rate on internet. Check availability at T-Mobile.com/home internet. Exclusions and taxes and fees apply. Guarantees regular monthly rate plan price of fixed wireless 5G internet data with qualifying service. Take a $15 rate rate with postpaid voice line plus $5 a month without autopay with debit or banking app. Regulatory fees apply for qualifying accounts. $35 connection charge applies. See very good effective effective salary numbers.
Progressive knows we all crave validation.
Girl, you are not 37.
I would have guessed 27.
You guys are too sweet.
Sure, dewy skin.
Terrific.
Is something wrong there?
Why would you ask? Just because today marks my 10th anniversary without a car accident or even a speeding ticket? But somehow, tonight's all about your skincare.
Wow. With Snapshot from Progressive, you can get a personalized rate based on how you drive. And that's all the validation you need. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Snapshot not available in California or from all agents. Surcharge possible for unsafe driving.
Case IH is a proud supporter of the Mississippi Farm Bureau, and thanks to a membership benefits partnership, Mississippi Farm Bureau members receive a discount of up to $500 on every qualifying Case IH tractor and piece of equipment you purchase. This discount may be used with other promotions, rebates, or offers. So join Mid South Ag Equipment and the Mississippi Farm Bureau and pocket up to $500 in savings. Call Mid South Ag at 662-890-3141 to get your discount today.
Now back to Sports 56 Mornings. Good morning on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Here once again, Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
Here's the biggest thing for Cleveland this year. You look at their top four guys, Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley, Darius Garland, Jared Allen. They have missed a combined 4 games. Mitchell's played 34 of the 35. Mobley's played 33 of the 35. Garland's played 34 of the 35. Allen's played all 35.
Hire their trainers.
I mean, health is a wonderful thing in the NBA. And if you look at last year, you know, a lot of those guys missed a lot of games.
Mm-hmm.
So far, they haven't had to deal with any injuries whatsoever this year. So it's worked out very well for them. And that's if you can keep your 4 best players healthy, playing pretty much every single game, you got a chance to win a lot of games in the NBA.
Right. Don't think for a second that a little bit of luck doesn't come into play for teams that win national championships in whatever the sport may be. They need to stay healthy.
I mean, if the Grizzlies if they just take their top 3, if you had Ja, Bane, and Jaren healthy, and say those 3 had missed a combined 4 games this year,
Mm-hmm.
you know, wonder what the Grizzlies' record would be.
Right. By the way, what do you think of Jimmy Butler if he is dealt to Phoenix? Bradley Beal, I know his agent Mark Bartelstein said that he did not rule out the possibility that he will waive his full no-trade clause in the perfect situation. I'm not sure if Miami is the perfect situation, but let's say Phoenix was able to get Jimmy Butler. It didn't work out with Durant, Booker, and Beal. Would it work out with Durant, Booker, and Butler?
I think they would be better, but I still don't think I don't think they're winning a title.
Okay. By the way, we were talking earlier about the wildfires in Southern California. Lakers head coach J.J. Redick said members of his family were among those in Southern California forced to evacuate their homes Tuesday because of the wildfires. From the world of college football, congratulations to Mario Anderson and Chandler Martin, who just completed their collegiate careers playing with the University of Memphis. They were both named to Phil Steele's All-America Honorable Mention. So honorable mention All-Americans from the Phil Steele magazine, Chandler Martin and Mario Anderson, who will both now be getting ready for the National Football League draft. Hopefully those guys will get drafted. If they don't get drafted, we'll certainly get an opportunity to play somewhere, hopefully in the league. You know, Memphis certainly has had a nice run. You had last year Deshaun Watson. Is that his name?
Blake Watson.
Blake Watson, yeah. Deshaun
Watson is very highly overpaid quarterback.
That's right.
Who loves massages.
Blake Watson, though, got his opportunity this year, not just on the practice squad, played a few games, so he's made his mark in Denver. Yesterday we talked about Patrick Taylor, who's been around the NFL for a long time with the Packers and the 49ers, but getting a start last week in the last regular season game for the 49ers, last game for the 49ers, and went over 100 yards. So Memphis continues to produce talent for the National Football League. It would not be surprising if Mario Anderson gets a great opportunity to play at the next level. And we'll see about Chandler Martin. I think he was absolutely terrific in his 2 years at the University of Memphis and opened up a lot of eyes. And then, of course, all the rest of the guys hoping to get their opportunity, like Seth Hennigan, like Rock Taylor, and others as well.
Quite frankly, Patrick Taylor's biggest accomplishment this season is being a 49ers running back, finishing the season healthy.
Well, if he played a few more games, God forbid, but maybe it wouldn't have been the case. It goes back to what we just talked about with injuries. I mean, San Francisco, does anybody think San Francisco really just dropped off the face of the earth? No, they were clobbered with injuries. And they got some things they got to fix, but they'll be fine. Those guys are all healthy now. They got to decide on the future of Deebo Samuel. And if Christian McCaffrey can come back and be Christian McCaffrey, they got to do the new contract or the contract for Brock Purdy, the big one after his rookie contract. There's a lot of things they have to do, but I would expect San Francisco would be right back in the mix. But again, that's a team. It doesn't matter what sport. If you are hit by injuries, you're going to suffer. And we saw it firsthand right here in Memphis last year with the Grizzlies.
East Coast Wings and Grill. Folks, if you're looking for great food for lunch or dinner, certainly East Coast provides that with 60 different flavors of wings for you to choose from, 7 different heat indexes available as well. But beyond the wings, many other great things on that menu for either lunch or dinner. They have lunch specials that they do every day that you could take advantage of, whether with some wings, but some of their sandwiches and other things that you can get a special lunch deal on. They do, of course, happy hour, 3:30 to 6:30, Monday through Friday, where you could take advantage of 2-for-1 draft beers, and they've got 24 draft beers on tap, including many of the local beers, plus any other beers or drinks that you need. They've got you taken care of there. Beyond the wings, the burgers, the flatbreads, other sandwiches, salads, all kinds of great food on the menu over at East Coast Wings and Grill. And of course, when there's games on, always a great place to watch the games. Plenty of TVs to watch all of the action over at East Coast Wings and Grill, whether it be the Tigers, the Grizzlies, NFL playoffs, college football playoff, whatever it is, the action's always on at East Coast Wings and Grill. Located just off Highway 64 in Bartlett. Kate Hyde Boulevard, that's the street that runs right between Lowe's and Walmart there of Highway 64, and that's where you'll find East Coast Wings and Grill.
We got plenty of NFL to get to, coaching news. We'll take a look at this weekend's wild card games when we return to open up hour number 2. This is Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Tiger fans, don't miss the action when Memphis men's basketball welcomes East Carolina to FedEx Forum Saturday, January 11th. The Tigers will tip off against the Pirates in an American Conference matchup at 1 o'clock as we celebrate Kids Day with face painters, balloon artists, and a halftime baby race. It's time to stand up, Memphis, and support your Tigers at FedEx Forum in a big-time matchup that you do not want to miss. Memphis and East Carolina, Saturday, January 11th at 1 o'clock. Get your tickets now at GoTigersGo.com.
Deep in the hidden wetlands of Florida, there's a honey so rare, it's only harvested 2 weeks out of the year. Tupelo honey, the gold standard of honey, specially bottled by Smiley Honey.
Here's why Tupelo honey is so special. It never crystallizes. It's diabetic friendly with a low glycemic index. Pure, unfiltered, and natural. Straight from the hive to your table.
Tupelo honey from Smiley Honey, the gold standard of honey.
Exercise. The exercise coach is ready for you. Strength training only takes 20 minutes twice a week with special computerized exercise equipment designed to maximize your workouts and minimize your time. An exercise coach gives you personal workouts by one-on-one with a trainer. Check out the exercise coach at exercisecoach.com/Lakeland or exercisecoach.com/Sign up today.
Boy, it was slow a few minutes ago from the earlier collision on Billmore's Parkway here near Ridgeway. It's slowing down that traffic. It's already heavy this time of the morning as you come past Winchester on 385 Billmore's Parkway coming in from Collierville as that traffic cranks up over here with more volume now on 40 westbound from Germantown Parkway down to Sycamore View Road. Weimer's Jewelry, serving the Memphis area for well over 40 years, no matter what the occasion is. Go by and see them first. You'll save a lot of money by shopping at Weimer's Jewelry on Highway 64. I'm Commander Chuck. You're on-time traffic.
This is Original Sports Station. We are Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis.
Now back to Sports 56 mornings on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by James Gaddis Jewelers. Here once again, Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
Welcome back, everyone. 8 o'clock the time. Hour number 2 here on Sports 56 Mornings, your Hump Day edition, your Wednesday, January 8th, 2025 edition to be exact. Greg Gaston, Eli Savoy, Elijah Seegers. We're in the Family Leisure Studios. Family Leisure, their floor model sale continues. Check it out at 2120 Whitten Road, just north of I-40. Currently 26 degrees, 26 whole degrees out there. 33 for your high today. That is it. We're going to see some sun, got a little bit of clouds. Then tonight, mostly clear with a low of 19 degrees. Tomorrow for your Thursday, some clouds, a little bit of sun, 38 for your high tomorrow. And then all hell breaks loose, I guess, Thursday night into Friday. The meteorologists around the city are having a field day. I have been in the business a long, long time, so I know meteorologists. I got a lot of friends that are meteorologists. I was in TV for nearly 30 years. It is their Super Bowl. They get excited. They get very excited. Just listen to their break-ins and their promos, their teases, and they don't want hell for people, but they get excited about it, and they may not admit it to you, but they're excited about it. I'm not excited about anything.
It's their time to shine.
Yeah,
they should.
Yeah, I know, but they got a little twinkle in their eye, like, "Hey, baby, it's coming, man! Armageddon, Snowmageddon, it's coming." And it apparently is coming. So we'll keep
I'm actually
you
surprised they haven't canceled schools for Friday yet.
Oh, I'm surprised too. Have you been to the store yet? Have you gotten your milk and your bread, your eggs?
If I had been to the store, the last thing I would have bought would have been milk, bread, or eggs. But
well, the beer's gone. I'm assuming the beer is. You've taken care of that.
And I'm going out of town this weekend anyway. I'll be driving right through this stuff, heading north, so it's all right.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, good luck with that. Coming up a little bit later on in the hour, we'll talk with Jerry Palm from CBS Sports, CBSSports.com, on both college football and college basketball. We'll take a look at his latest bracketology. We'll talk NFL in just a moment. Then in hour 3, DeMichael Cole joins us at 9:05 to talk Grizzlies. Parth Upadhyay at 9:25 to talk Memphis Tigers basketball. Right now, I want to talk about our second hour sponsor. You know them. I've talked about them for years. They've been with us. James Gaddis Jewelers. They've been in Memphis for 60 years. Started out on Summer Avenue, and now they're, 30 years, nearly 30 years at 4900 Poplar Avenue in the heart of East Memphis, right between Mendenhall and St. Nick. The biggest selection of engagement rings in the Mid-South. Your best prices on GIA-certified diamonds to fit any budget. Location, again, is right there, easy to get to. You've probably driven by it a million times if you haven't stopped inside. Their jewelry specialists are here to help navigate the scary waters of buying a diamond and taking that leap hand in hand. There's going to be a lot of people getting engaged this upcoming 2025 year, so make sure that James Gaddis Jewelers is one of the jewelers you check out for that beautiful diamond engagement ring, wedding rings, personally designed wedding sets. Now, if you're looking for a beautiful watch of all type, even the pre-owned Rolexes, you're looking for earrings and pendants and necklaces and bracelets, they have it for you at James Gaddis Jewelers. Plus, they have that special vintage estate jewelry which they're always adding to their collection. You'll go in there, and then 2 days later, you go back, and you'll see something that you didn't see just 2 days ago. That's what they're doing. They're always looking to add beautiful jewelry to their collection. It's James Gaddis Jewelers, 4900 Poplar between Mendenhall and St. Nick, and on the web at gaddisjewelers.com. So yesterday, I'd asked you to rank the best openings, coaching openings in the National Football League. There were 5, and then lo and behold, there became a 6th as the Raiders let go Antonio Pierce as head coach after his first full year as the coach of the Raiders.
Yeah, this has been, kind of rumored. They didn't know which way they would go. You never quite know with the Raiders and what their situation is. Who knows how much voice Tom Brady might have had in this now as a part owner of the team. They are certainly a dysfunctional franchise to begin with. And it's the last couple of days, or few days, I guess, not been a great look for the NFL on their diversity front.
No.
When you fire 2 head coaches, both African-American, who after 1 year, and then the Titans fire their GM after 2 seasons.
But keep the coach after 1 year.
Not looking. It's not a great ad for, hey, our diversity efforts are really starting to pay off. Look what we're doing. We're firing him. We hired him. We fired him after 1 year or 2 in the GM case.
Yeah, and then you have the Rooney Rule's done, right? Is that still in existence?
Mm-hmm.
I thought they had done away with it, but Robert Kraft goes out and brings in a couple of candidates yesterday, both of color, one being Teddy Bridgewater. They're going with Vrabel, unless Vrabel does the old, sorry, Bob, thanks for the memories, and goes somewhere else, because Vrabel's going to get an offer or 2 from other teams outside of New England. But I imagine it's going to be New England, and I imagine he's going to take the job. So, again, you're going through a dog and pony show here with candidates because that's who he's going to hire. That's why he fired Mayo, in my opinion. I'd be shocked if it wasn't Vrabel, unless, again, Vrabel said thanks but no thanks. But, yeah, it's not a good look. Look, owners can do whatever they want, but 1 year, how does that give somebody a chance to really dig their feet in and do what they need to do, make the changes they need to make in 1 year, 1 season? That's almost impossible. And Mayo didn't get a fair shot. Again, he's the owner. He can do whatever he wants. Pierce got a little more than a year. He came on as an interim, but whether it was Tom Brady's influence to Mark Davis, whatever the case may be, they're looking in a different direction. You got 6 openings now. We had somebody text in yesterday, and they asked about any college coaches that are out there right now. And really nothing came to mind. They had brought up a couple of names, and then we brought up a couple of names as well, but I don't think they're going down the avenue of Sark. I think Sark's happy at Texas. The texter brought up Marcus Freeman. I would imagine Marcus Freeman's very happy at Notre Dame with what's going on. There could be a coach out there. I mean, do you look at Cliff Kingsbury again, who's in the NFL right now as an assistant? Do you look at him? Again, people look at those coaches as recycled coaches. The chance that Rex Ryan could be back in New York with the Jets. He's interviewed for a job. But I don't know. So Pierce let go, 6 openings, and Mike McCarthy apparently will be retained by the Cowboys. Nothing official, but the Cowboys, I told you this yesterday, they denied the Bears a chance to interview him.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I think that means Jerry has decided he wants to keep him, which I don't understand. But hopefully their contract negotiations don't go well, and then he can leave anyway. But I don't.
I'm telling you, look, I don't know Jerry from Adam. Never had a chance to talk to him. But I would imagine a guy with his ego looked at the situation and said to himself, wait a minute, Chicago wants to talk to my coach? He's my coach. They ain't talking to my coach. I'm re-upping with my coach. I just think that the ego plays so much into a lot of the things that he does. So I would not be surprised whatsoever. Because if they don't renew him and his contract runs out when? Tomorrow?
I'm not sure I think it's I think it might be early next week. I'm not sure exactly what the exact date is of when it expires.
Okay, but it's soon. And if they don't renew him, then Chicago, if they want to wait, they can wait. But they interviewed Vrabel yesterday, I think it was, Chicago. But again, I think it's Vrabel to New England. After that, I have no idea. The two Lions coordinators absolutely both deserve jobs. Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn both deserve jobs.
Bet Online has their odds for all of the opening. Now, they don't have the Raiders because they haven't updated on that one yet. But for the other ones, they have Cliff Kingsbury as the favorite for the Bears job. Liam Cohen as the favorite, pretty significant favorite for the Jags job. Vrabel for the Patriots, and he's the biggest favorite of any. Joe Brady, pretty significant for the Saints, which he's been talked about a lot for that because of his time at LSU. The Jets opening, they actually have Vrabel and Jeff Ulbrich as co-favorites for the Jets job. But that one, all of the others, well, no, Kingsbury's 2-1. Kingsbury's plus 200. All the others are minus. The Jets one, they've got both of them at plus 225, and then Rex Ryan at plus 240.
Sexy Rexy.
So they don't know what to do with the Jets job. They have no idea. And again, the Jets are.
How about Aaron Rodgers, player coach?
Disaster of a franchise. So it would be no surprise that you wouldn't know how to make odds of what the hell they're going to do in picking a head coach.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so with theirs, they don't have Ben Johnson or Aaron Glenn as a favorite for any of the open jobs. Raider Corey texted. He says the Raiders about to hire head coach number 13 in 22 years.
Wow,
which is just that's alarming.
Wow.
Only 2 winning seasons in that span. Boot on Tuesday. That doesn't sit right with me.
I hate that.
It's ridiculous.
It's happening too much now with coaches.
It's with the Sacramento Kings literally let Mike Brown do a press conference, and then literally within an hour he was fired.
Right.
They basically walked him out of there like, hey, by the way, come here. You're fired.
It's so disrespectful.
It's crazy. Matt says, I heard of an interview not too long ago, a gentleman talking about Tom Brady when he was leaving the Patriots and a list of like 7 things that he wanted out of his next team that he was going to play for. The Bucs checked all those boxes. I imagine with him being a new owner of the Raiders, he's probably bringing that same potential list of things needed to build a team in order to win a Super Bowl. Again, I
would imagine, yes.
I would hope that Mark Davis is leaning on Tom Brady and about this. And again, maybe it was Tom Brady. Maybe Tom Brady had nothing to do with this. We don't know whether this had anything to do with him or not. But
he's.
But yeah, I would think if I'm Mark Davis, I'm going to lean a little bit on the guy who's won a million Super Bowls and been around Bill Belichick for all those years. I think there'd be some knowledge that he has picked up.
And despite Brady being a minority owner, I don't know what the stake is, but it's low. But he's important because of what you just said. Here's a guy with an incredible track record. Now, albeit he wasn't the coach or the general manager, he was the damn quarterback. But he knows how an organization should be run because he was in the inside of one of the best of all time. So I would think you would lean on Tom Brady. I'm not saying that he's the one who made that decision to let Pierce go, but probably urged Davis to start anew. Let's start afresh.
Another texter says, stop playing the race card. Neither Mayo or the Raiders coach should have been hired to begin with. Bad coaches get fired. Okay, well...
No. Mayo was the hand-picked guy by Robert Kraft to replace Belichick.
Mayo, they literally were so afraid to lose when teams were coming after him that they put it in his contract that he would be the successor. So they loved him. They thought he was perfect. And I don't know what you could have done with this roster to suddenly change that mind after 1 year. Antonio Pierce literally coached the team for, 8-9 games. They thought he was good enough doing that they made him the permanent head coach of the team. And again, after a year where he's got Aiden O'Connell and company playing quarterback, they now decided he's not good enough to coach the team. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, and look, I understand a lot of things are looked at in black and white. And in this case, certainly, because you got Pierce, you have Mayo, whereas Brian Callahan was kept after one disastrous year with the Titans. And I'm not saying any of those guys should have been fired. I'm not saying Callahan should have been fired. But they fired the general manager. They didn't fire the head coach. So it's tough at times not to look at it through race. in this situation, especially what's happened so far. Now, there will be an African-American or two hired in this cycle. I don't think there's any question in my mind Aaron Glenn's going to get a job. But for the most part, probably recycled coaches. But the point from what the texter said, the point is that Gerard Mayo was the hand-picked successor to Bill Belichick. Robert Kraft gave him 1 year. He didn't give him 1 year when he hired him. He thought he would be in there for a long time. It didn't go that well, but then he realized, I'm sure, because I'm sure he's had conversations with Mike Vrabel, that now I get a chance to get Mike Vrabel. The Titans made the biggest mistake by getting rid of Mike Vrabel. And John Robinson, to be honest with you.
And the thing is, again, the owners can do what they want. And I don't, whatever. I'm not playing a race card. I'm just telling you, it's rather obvious this doesn't look great for the NFL, who continues to have a problem with diversity when, in a 3-day stretch, there were 2 coaches fired after 1 season. Both of them black. There was a GM fired after 2 seasons. Black. Where other GMs who have been horrendous, have horrendous track records, were kept.
Yeah, Trent Baalke was
White.
kept with the Jags, although Doug Peterson, White, was fired.
So whatever. I'm telling you, if you think this isn't a bad look, the people are noticing this around the NFL. Because the thing with this is, the problem when you fire a coach after 1 season, now you're basically telling the rest of the league this guy's incompetent in his job. And so they probably are never going to get another opportunity to be a head coach.
Could very well be the case.
Because if after 1 year, and again, with a horrendous roster in New England, and again, the Raiders with the quarterback issues and everything else, it blows my mind that you could just make that decision after you love them that much that you would then say, nah, obviously wrong guy for the job.
Well, if they were worried about Mayo and he's not the guy to really develop, he's not an offensive guy anyway, but really his leadership to develop Drake May, then you should have fired the offensive coordinator and brought in another guy who could develop Drake May. Instead, they just fired Gerard Mayo. Again, why? In my opinion, and I'll have egg in my face if it doesn't happen, but it's because Mike Vrabel's available. And he's going to bring in Mike Vrabel. He's going to bring in another one of his old players. Mayo was one of his old players. He'll bring in Vrabel. So the odds for this weekend's games, I'm not sure if many of them have changed. A little fluctuation, I think, with a game or two. But for Saturday, the Chargers are a 3-point favorite at Houston. The Steelers are getting 10 at Baltimore as the Ravens try to win 2 out of 3 in that series. They split during the regular season. Sunday, Denver's getting 8.5 at Buffalo. Green Bay gets 4.5 at Philadelphia. Washington gets 3 at Tampa Bay. And then your Monday night game, Minnesota, is a 1.5-point favorite on the road at the Rams. Very interesting.
Well, the Eagles thing is interesting with Jalen Hurts still being in concussion protocol. I think pretty much everybody just assumed by now he would be good to go, and he is not. Now they still have confidence, I guess, that he's going to be able to go and he won't be rusty and all of that stuff. But if they don't have Jalen Hurts, well, I don't see any way they beat the Packers. And Jordan Love had the injury in the game on Sunday, but I think he's going to be fine. He was warming up and was going to maybe come back into that game. So, but I don't see any way the Eagles could win a playoff game without Jalen Hurts.
Oh, I completely disagree. I think the Eagles are winning this game if Kenny Pickett's the quarterback, if Tanner McKee's the quarterback. Green Bay lost Watson to an injury. They've had key injuries. Jordan Love has not played as well as he played earlier in the year. It's in Philadelphia. I think Philadelphia is winning this game no matter what. That's one right now. I'd look at all 6 of those games. Baltimore is absolutely beating Pittsburgh. I don't know if they cover 10. They probably will, but Baltimore's absolutely beating Pittsburgh. And Philadelphia is next on my list. It's to me, it's a guarantee. I shouldn't say it. Don't bet your money on it. But Philadelphia is winning. They're beating Green Bay. Buffalo,
A lot more confidence in Tanner McKee than I do.
I have confidence in any quarterback. Roman Gabriel can come back from the dead and quarterback that Eagles. They're beating Green Bay. Green Bay is beaten up. The teams they played that had a pulse in their division, they lost to 4 times, losing to Detroit twice and Minnesota twice. I don't think Green Bay is as good. Look, I give them credit. They got to the playoffs. They're beaten up physically. Philadelphia is going to beat them. I don't think it's a problem. Buffalo, I don't know if I love them to cover, but look, Bo Nix has had a great year. But now going into Buffalo in the playoffs, how will he be able to lead that team as a youngster in his first ever postseason game? The cold won't matter because they come from Denver. I love Buffalo. I love Philadelphia. I love Baltimore. That Chargers-Houston game, I'm leaning toward the Chargers on the road. Washington-Tampa Bay, that's going to be that's a tough one right there. May have the lean toward Tampa Bay at home. And then Minnesota and the Rams, I mean, throw up a coin, take your side, and hope that you're right, because I have no idea who's winning that one. I think there's 3 games that are going to be really close, up in the air. I think the other 3, those 3 teams I just mentioned, are winning. I don't care what happens.
Again, good luck if it's Tanner McKee with your bet. Raider Corey does point out, not so fast, Greg. Vrabel and Brady played 8 years together in New England. Just something to think about.
Yeah, I was thinking about that yesterday when that happened and his connections with that, but I don't know. Did Vrabel leave New England with any kind of animosity, any kind of issues with Kraft, or have they stayed close? That would be, I guess, the biggest key. If he and Kraft have stayed together with their relationship, even as Vrabel went on to Tennessee to coach the Titans, then he's in New England. If there was an issue, which we never heard about, and maybe that relationship is strained a bit, maybe. It's not out of the question. It's not out of the question what Raider Corey's saying. But I still think push comes to shove, Vrabel's in New England. Folks, if you're a basketball player looking to improve your shooting, looking to improve your overall game, you can take your basketball skills to the next level at Shoot 360 Memphis. There's nothing like it, and they have 2 of them in Cordova and in Collierville. Revolutionary basketball training facility. They got cutting-edge technology. Again, you've never seen anything like it. The gamification is fantastic, especially for the little ones learning to play the game, learning to become good passers. They have games. It's a screen, and they're chest passes, bounce passes as they're hitting their targets. It's really fun for little kids as well. But for basketball players looking to become just better all-around players, getting ready for high school, getting ready for college or beyond, this makes sense. This is the technology that Steph Curry uses. I'm not making that up. That's exactly what he does. He has used the Shoot 360 technology to become the shooter that he is, the greatest that the game has ever seen. I'm not promising you'll become a great shooter, but I'm guaranteeing you'll become a better shooter. You get one-on-one expert coaching from some guys that have been around the game a long time. Scott Adebato was an assistant coach with the Memphis Grizzlies. He's on that staff. Again, it makes a lot of sense to check out Shoot 360 Memphis, and now they have monthly membership. That makes an awful lot of sense, right? Sign up for a month. If you don't like it, fine. But I guarantee you're going to like it. And then you're going to sign up for more months. And you're not bogged down with a long-term year or multi-year contract. So give them a call. Set up a tour of the facility. It'll blow you away when you see it, especially the Cordova facility, 901-779-3176. Or in Collierville, the original, at 901-316-5500. You can become a member of both or either. You can go online to register as well at Shoot 360 Memphis. The future of basketball training is here at Shoot 360 Memphis. Jerry Palm joins us next. This is Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
High-energy, full-body workout that utilizes the same equipment and technology employed by Floyd Mayweather to achieve his impressive 50-0 record. The workout features 4 types of heavy bags, treadmills, rows, battle ropes, weights, and much more. Visit MayweatherBoxing.com Boxing and Fitness, located at 2257 North Germantown Parkway in Cordova. Train like a champ. Mayweather Boxing and Fitness. 901-673-1267.
I'm Gary York. I'm the service director of Lexus in Memphis. Our service department wants to be more than just a place where you get your oil changed. We do glass repair, windshield replacement, recalibration of your camera and sonar systems, even wheel repair, tire replacement, all the things you would expect from a luxury automotive vehicle. Please check out our website. You can schedule your appointment, check out our specials, hours of operation, or if you'd like to do it in person, please reach out to one of our associates at 901-271-5199.
T-Mobile 5G home internet keeps getting better. Get our fastest connection loaded with benefits. Get T-Mobile's best home internet starting at $55 a month without a pay and invoice fee. Plus, price lock. We won't raise your rate on internet. Check availability at T-Mobile.com/home internet. Exclusions and taxes and fees apply. Guarantees regular monthly rate plan price of fixed wireless 5G internet data with qualifying services at the $15 rate rate with postpaid voice line plus $5 a month without auto pay with debit or banking account. Regulatory fees included for qualifying accounts. $35 connection charge applies. Speeds vary due to factors affecting cellular networks.
Tito's handmade vodka is America's favorite vodka for a reason. From the first legal distillery in Texas, Tito's is 6 times distilled till it's just right and naturally gluten-free, making it a high-quality spirit that mixes with just about everything. From the smoothest martinis to the best Bloody Marys, beyond the bottle, Tito's has gained a reputation for giving back, teaming up with nonprofits around the world to serve its community and do good for dogs. Make your next cocktail with Tito's and learn more at Tito'sVodka.com. 40% alcohol by volume, mainly 80 proof, crafted to be savored responsibly.
Listen each and every Sunday morning at 11 to join Ottawa Presbyterian Church for worship. Ottawa is the UCUSA Church downtown Memphis.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good morning. Still building pretty good on 40 westbound as you come in from Fayette County into Shelby County here passing Germantown Parkway. As you work your way down the interstate here on I-40 to Sycamore View Road, some of that traffic getting up on that flyover off onto Sam Cooper as well, which is moving right now, coming inbound on Sam Cooper this morning. Hey, make a difference by adopting a pet at the Humane Society of Memphis Shelby County. You can check out the animals right now that are up for adoption by logging on to memphishumane.org. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Now back to Sports 56 mornings on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by James Gaddis Jewelers. Diamonds are forever. Here once again, Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
Tomorrow, John Crispin is going to join us on the program. ESPN analyst. I think he's been on maybe 2 of the last 3 or maybe the last 2 Tigers games. We had him on last year. He was great to have, a guy who's very much a basketball junkie and will give us his true thoughts on what he thinks the Memphis Tigers can do this upcoming season. He'll join us at 8:05. What he'll do the rest of the season, I should say. 8:05 tomorrow, John Crispin. So before we bring Jerry on, Tennessee, we talked about the Vols losing by 30 last night at Florida. Again, losing at Florida, not a surprise. Losing by 30, a surprise. I look at the net today, the net rankings. They were 3 going in, they're 3 coming out. How do you not drop a spot or 2 when you lose by 30, when margin of victory is a big factor in the net?
I don't know all the net formula, but I mean, it's also their first loss of the year, and it's on the road to the team that is now number 5 in the net. So it's as good a loss as you could have, despite the margin.
Maybe Jerry knows a little bit more about that. Let's bring on JP.
It's time for Sports 56 Mornings Weekly Chat with Jerry Palm, college football and basketball writer and bracketologist for CBSSports.com. Here are Greg, Eli, and Jerry.
He is Jerry Palm, CBS Sports, CBSSports.com. You can follow him on Twitter at JPPalmCBS. He joins us every single week during both the college basketball and football seasons, talking both sports as football continues. We got the national semifinals on Thursday and Friday. We'll talk about Jerry's latest bracketology that you can check out at CBSSports.com. Again, follow Jerry on Twitter at JPPalmCBS. Good morning.
Hey, good morning. How's it going?
Good. Do you know you may not know the entire net formula, but How does it?
I don't know any of it.
Okay, I was just wondering how. I know it was their first loss, but they lost by 30 on the road. Why they wouldn't move like one spot in the net? They were 3 going in. They're still 3.
Yeah, it's so rankings like this, and just about any other rankings, you can think of as kind of like a bell curve. And the way that works is the teams at the ends are farther apart from each other than the teams in the middle. Mm-hmm. So the teams in the middle, in a result like that, you're probably going to move a lot because the raw numbers for those teams are going to be a lot closer together. And at the ends, the raw numbers for those teams, which don't get published, are just going to be further apart. So, Tennessee not moving is a bit of a surprise that they'd be that big a gap, probably, where a 30-point loss wouldn't even drop them one spot. And then Florida, moved up a couple, maybe 3. Was it like 8-5?
Yeah.
I want to see. Yeah. So, that's at that end of the bracket is a lot harder to move even one spot. Mm-hmm. So, you almost have to put, stack things before you really start seeing significant. Florida's movement was significant. I thought Tennessee might drop one spot, but if those two teams were like in the hundreds, they'd move like 10, 15 spots, just because the raw numbers that make up those rankings are closer together.
The right now, would Auburn be the number one overall seed?
I have had them number one overall in all of my in-season brackets.
Okay. That's
even ahead of Tennessee when they were undefeated. And it's because of strength of schedule. Tennessee's strength of schedule was significantly worse than Auburn. Most of the other teams at the top of the net rankings, for example, Tennessee's was in the low hundreds, and everybody else is a single or double digit, strength of schedule. So, and Auburn was a top 10. So that's why, even with the loss to Duke, I still had Auburn number one overall.
How does Tennessee's strength of schedule compare to Florida's?
Yeah, I think Florida was another one that had a kind of sketchy schedule. I remember thinking that before they lost to Kentucky, or after they lost to Kentucky, that was basically their best result of the season. It was losing to Kentucky, because the other teams that they had played were not really noteworthy, and so they just didn't have anything really going for them that made you think, oh yeah, this is a great result. Or any of their wins were all that noteworthy. But Florida's strength of schedule, they're still in the 200s.
Wow.
Their best win is North Carolina.
And that's that. Well, before that, right? And North Carolina is a quad 1 win. They beat them by 6 back in December. North Carolina may or may not be a tournament team. We'll see, because we'll have to see how they go through conference play, because they beat themselves up. They played a great non-conference schedule, and they weren't up to it. But yeah, so for today, Florida's strength of schedule, I think it's 232, which is still, and they just played Tennessee. So, that's a pretty remarkable number.
Yeah, and the point I was trying to make was that head-to-head, while extremely important, is not the only thing. So, today, let's say the committee had to make all their picks today, and we're deciding on Florida or Tennessee for a number 1 seed. Well, even though Florida won by 30, Tennessee may still get the nod because of that bad strength of schedule by Florida.
Yeah, so let me correct myself. The 232 is their non-conference schedule. Their overall schedule strength is 82.
And where's Tennessee's?
Tennessee is 61, and Auburn is 3.
Okay, but so who would you pick then if you had to pick between Tennessee and Florida as a number 1 seed?
Oh, right now it'd be Florida. I mean, you can't ignore the result, and they're close enough together that you can't ignore the result.
I'm always the one that says the head-to-head thing, and then I think you and other people always say, well, it's a lot of different factors, and here we are talking head-to-head.
Yeah,
and you go,
but we're only 15 games in.
Right,
maybe.
No, I understand.
At the end, when we're 35 games in, and you've probably played each other twice, although that may be less true now in these major, massive conferences.
Right.
But it's, but right now, you couldn't really ignore that result.
Gotcha.
But, 2 months from now, when you've got full schedules and full results, and, things will be different, and that'll still be a thing. Head-to-head isn't nothing, but it's not what it is in football. Head-to-head is a much bigger deal in football.
I agree.
It's relatively insignificant in basketball because there are so many other factors in play and 3 times as many games played by basketball.
The you had West Virginia at a 2. How much do you think last night's loss hurts them?
Well, we'll have to see when Friday rolls around and I get to it. But, yeah, that's going to be a couple lines probably. I mean, Arizona wasn't even in the bracket. So that's different than, Tennessee getting blown out, by another pretty highly rated team. And, West Virginia was at home. Part of the reason that why they were as high as they were, they had won at Kansas. But then they basically gave that away, or most of that away last night.
Arizona's the one in the net rankings that I don't understand at all. I can't figure out how they, other than the fact that when they played all the bad teams they played, they blew them all out. But their ranking in the net makes no sense.
Where are they?
They're 14.
Where do you have? Yeah, you're right. That makes no sense. And
they're 2-5 in quad one, and they just picked up they're going into yesterday. They were 16. They were 1-5 in quad one. Don't have a quad 2 game, and then they're 7-0 in quads 3 and quad 4, and then they get a quad 1. They move up 2 more spots to number 14.
Yeah. So what they had prior to yesterday was a win over Cincinnati, which was on the road, which is quad 1, and 5 quad 1 losses. No quad 2 games at all.
Yeah.
And then the other 7 games are all, 3 and 4.
But they've been up there all year for whatever. I just don't. Other than again when they played all those bad teams, the quad 3s and quad 4s, they blew them all out, and I guess that's what's done it.
Yeah, I mean the margin of victory matters so much in the net. In fact, I don't even know if wins and losses matter very much. They matter. Like KenPom, I think is pretty much all margin, and a bunch of advanced math that you can do with that sort of thing. The net is got certainly results orientation to it, but not much, very little, really. It seems to have been designed to mimic KenPom as best as you possibly can without his form.
And KenPom does have him at 13 as well. So I guess yeah. But again,
so
they won games by 40 and 50 and 60. So that does it.
The correlation between net rankings and KenPom rankings, I don't have raw numbers for the net, so you can't really compare that sort of a thing. But just the rankings is very high, like so high that you couldn't. It's the net seems to be as close to KenPom's formula as you can get without actually having KenPom's formula.
What do you think of the Tarvik formula?
Torvik,
sorry.
His is interesting. It's another. His is results oriented, I believe. I don't think it's a margin of victory one. But the thing about his that's a little bit different is it's got some recency bias in it. Yeah, which is interesting. I mean, his rankings are fine. I don't have enough information that, I don't see anything in his rankings that look like just strange outliers, and why is that? It doesn't make any sense. Mm-hmm. So his rankings seem to be okay, and he was the one who was largely promoting wins above bubble, which is also now on the team sheet, although the NCAA's version of it. But
wins above bubble, explain that to everybody.
So wins above bubble is they take a team that, well, first of all, they designate a line that's the bubble, and for the NCAA, it's the 45th ranked team in the net on any given day, and then you take that team's schedule and you apply it to everyone else, and the wins above bubble is how many more wins would this team have against the 45th ranked team schedule than that team has.
Okay.
So there's not necessarily one way to do that. But that's a stat that a lot of people like. And I guess I kind of understand why.
It's like
it's
war.
considered
It's like
a non-margin of victory. It's considered a metric that is not based on margin of victory. However, since the bubble, the designated point in the bubble, is the 45th ranked team in the net, the net is a margin of victory based ranking, so you can't say it's completely not margin of victory based.
The thing I don't like, and because when you go to the net rankings, in the wins above bubble column, they just put where the team ranks there. They don't put the actual number. Not that many people would understand it anyway, but they just tell you this team is
you're not
first
getting
in
raw
wins above
numbers
bubble.
from the NCAA for anything.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
And there are some that don't. And Torvik, now that I think about it, Torvik might be margin of victory based. Must be. Actually, margin of victory based.
Right. Jerry Palm joining us on the Sissy's Log Cabin listener lines. You can read Jerry's latest bracketology at cbssports.com. Follow him on Twitter at jppalmcbs. You have Memphis at number 4, which I think is pretty good compared to your compatriots that do brackets around the country. And they deserve right now at least number 4. They have 10 combined quadrant 1 and 2 victories, which is the most in college basketball. My question, though, is as Memphis goes through this conference, which we know is not that good, and so far they're 2-0, had a tough one against North Texas, but there's going to be a night where they just don't have it, or maybe 2. How much damage can they do to everything they did in the non-conference portion of their schedule? I'm asking, I guess, how many losses, and this is just a guesstimate on your part, can they have where they don't start falling like multiple lines?
Not many. But it depends on who you lose to, because, if you lose to, say, Temple, who's 122nd, that's not as bad as losing to East Carolina. It's 212. Or San Antonio is 280 or something. So it really depends on who you're losing to. Not all losses are the same, but you're talking about mostly quad 3 and 4 losses, and you already got a quad 3 loss to Arkansas State. So you start piling up those kind of losses, you really got a problem. They can't have the kind of conference season that they had last year.
Oh no,
they just can't. They can't. I don't even think they can go half in the tank as much, as they did last year. So, they're going to have, they want to make the NCAA tournament, they're going to have to really be good in league play, because none of these opponents that they've got left are really helping them.
Yeah, look, last year was an anomaly, in my opinion. It was just a team that just imploded.
Well, you'd like to think it's an anomaly.
Well, the players didn't get. There was a lot of issues. They imploded. This one seems to be different. Now, I'm not saying that they have the greatest team. They've been really good because they played together. But there's going to be a clunker. There's no question there's going to be a clunker. I still think UAB, and I know they don't have a great net, but I think they're going to be a tough out for Memphis in both their games, in Birmingham and in Memphis. Andy Kennedy gets them up for Memphis. They always are, whether he was an Ole Miss coach or a UAB coach. So I'm thinking, you lose any more than 3, you're in deep trouble. Not to get to the tournament, but start to lose double seed lines. In other words, drop from a 4 to a 6.
And this is a team with, 10 quad 1 and 2 wins now. You got 6 quad 2 wins for Memphis, but they may not stay there.
Right. I worry about Ole Miss in the SEC taking a pounding. Yeah, I mean, there's a chance you could lose some of those. Clemson lost again last night, which wasn't good. Although it was a road loss at Louisville.
And if you brought up UAB still does not have a win in the top 3 quadrants. All of their wins are in quad 4. So if you struggle, especially at home to UAB, that becomes really bad.
It does, but I'm telling you, those are going to be tough games for Memphis, UAB. I know it. I just know they will. Okay, let's turn our attention to football. We got the national semifinals coming up on Thursday and on Friday. Your thoughts? Let's start with the Orange Bowl on Thursday. Notre Dame, a 2-point favorite over Penn State.
Yeah, I think that's a fair line. It should be a toss-up game, and that line is basically a toss-up. I picked Penn State because of their versatility on offense. These are 2 really good defensive teams. Penn State and Notre Dame, both their defensive lines are terrific. Their defensive backfields are terrific. You're going to have a hard time moving the ball in ways that you're comfortable moving the ball against each other. For me, though, the difference is Drew Aller versus Riley Leonard. even though Leonard played well, I thought against Georgia, I don't trust him generally as a passer as much as I do Aller, and that's why I picked Penn State.
Okay. And then on Friday night in the Cotton Bowl, you got Ohio State, a 6-point favorite over Texas.
Yeah, I mean, the way Ohio State's playing, it should be closer to 60. Jeez. I mean, Ohio State, the Ohio State that beat Tennessee, the Ohio State that beat Oregon, that team, Texas isn't touching them either. And neither, I mean, that's the team that's going to win the national title. Because unless they take the foot off the gas or somebody figures out, what they can do to slow them down, there isn't really much. I like Ohio State to win. I like them to cover. I don't think they're going to embarrass Texas the way they have the last couple, but I didn't think those would be embarrassing losses either.
So you believe if Texas is going to win this game, it's going to be stuff that Ohio State doesn't do rather than anything Texas can do?
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Exactly. I mean, Texas's defensive line is really good, and so that'll be an interesting challenge for the Ohio State offensive line, which is banged up. But it didn't seem to matter in the first two games.
Right,
It's like not like Tennessee's defensive line was lousy. They have so many weapons, and it's just hard to keep track of all of those weapons and cover everybody. It's Ohio State may have trouble running the ball, but unless they can make Will Howard really uncomfortable, Texas doesn't have much of a shot.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right,
Jerry, do you have snow? Are you guys supposed to get snow this week, like we are?
We've had a little bit. I mean, I've got a dusting, but there's none on the street. The grass is a little bit covered, but yeah, it's just we haven't got a ton.
Are you guys supposed to get it this weekend? Like, because we're supposed to get like 4 inches or something. Are you?
No, I'm not aware of any significant snowfall this weekend.
Look at you guys up there in the tropical north.
Yeah.
He's in a
little pocket. He's in a pocket.
My wife's family's in Indianapolis, and they got about a foot. So,
oh, really?
Yeah. So we missed we don't usually miss the snow belt problems, but that thing went right through central Indiana. So, it was, but nothing really up here of note.
Well, enjoy the game. Stay warm. We'll talk to you next week.
All right.
Thanks, JP. Yeah, I mean, they'll get their snow where he lives. It's coming. May not be this week, but it's coming. We'll take a break. We'll come back, wrap up hour number 2. This is Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
When you're working outdoors, unpredictability is the norm. So take on the toughest jobs with the 2025 Honda Pioneer 700. This rugged side-by-side is powered in any party with reliable torque, towing, and smooth shifting through trails. And you can choose between 3 trims: standard, deluxe, or the Trim Timber Force Edition. Ultimate Airwood's Adventures. See the 2025 Honda Pioneer 700 today at Casino Honda, 5657 Mill Road in Old Drake.
Hi, this is Troy Five-Ash, owner of Five-Ash Roofing. I have been told that my ads are all business and I should share some of my personality. Okay, I love tongue twisters, like the one about the terrific tasting toast by Taste Tester Toaster, or Big Black Bugs, Bleed Blue Blood, and of course Sally and her seashells. Or of course the ever-present I'm a Mother Pheasant Plucker, I pluck Mother Pheasants. Okay, enough of that. If you want an honest, fair, reasonable roofing, siding, or gutter estimate, call Five-Ash Roofing at 367-0050. That's exactly what you'll get. No empty promises, no high-pressure sales tactics, and no fast-talking salesman trying to convince you that today and only today is the best day for you to get a new roof. For the record, the best day to get a new roof is when you're ready for one. Five-Ash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Five-Ash Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
The Family Leisure floor model sales happening right now through the end of January. Family Leisure has got to get rid of all the 2024 inventory because all the new 2025 items are starting to arrive. All floor models are up
to 50% off. You want a cold plunge tub? They start at $49.99. Go the other route with a hot tub. Get $3,000 off with free steps and chemicals. Family Leisure has pool tables, arcades, ping pong, air hockey, even baseball tables from 20 to 60% off. Want beers here? Family Leisure has theater seating up to 75% off. Plus, now's the time to start thinking about pool seats. You can buy it now, get on the installation schedule, and be ready before everyone else. Special financing is also available. Hey, if you want to get free delivery on any of these items, you just tell the phone staff at Family Leisure that you are this commercial. It's the floor model. So now, through the end of January, Family Leisure, in Road I-40, family and fun come together.
Now, back to Sports 56 Mornings on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by James Gaddis Jewelers.
Don't you just love it?
Here once again, Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
Happy birthday to the late, great Memphian Elvis Presley. Today would have been his 90th birthday. And he probably would have still been rocking those hips, singing those great songs. Passed away way too early. The icon, Elvis Presley, 90th birthday today.
Happy birthday, Elvis. And there will be, I'm sure there's celebrations going on around the world because people still love Elvis.
No question about it.
You mentioned earlier that dunk by LeBron last night.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, where did that come from?
Switched hands, went to the left.
Like, he did it so quick. I had to watch it like 4 times. When people posted, I was like, did he? I don't even know exactly what all happened there. And then I finally saw a different angle. I was like, oh, wow, okay. He got in the air, decided then to switch hands to the left hand, and then just rammed it on him.
I'm just amazed. I'm absolutely amazed he has not slowed down. Look, I am a Michael Jordan guy, and I know that every time I say that Jordan's the GOAT, I'm starting to second guess myself every single time, although I'll stick with it probably until I'm dead and gone. But with each passing game, let alone season, LeBron James playing at this level at 40. Is he 40 or 41 now?
40.
He's 40. He just turned 40.
40 years old, is playing as well as most of the players that play in the game today, or more, or better than most of the players, I should say. And there's only a few that right now you would go, okay, that guy's better, that guy's better. There's not a lot of them. At 40.
Also last night, Trae Young, the half-court game winner. That was pretty cool. After Colin Sexton hits a huge three to tie the game with, I think, 2 seconds left, they inbound it. Trae Young from beyond half court really drains it for the win.
Trae Young's had a very good career. Just they can't really get going in Atlanta to make a legitimate run in the East. They're a decent team. That's all they are.
They've been stuck for a long time just in that area of you make the playoffs, but you're not good enough to do anything really in the playoffs. Although they had the run. Did they go to the Eastern Conference Finals a few years ago when where they beat the Knicks in the first round? Can't remember. But
was that the COVID year?
But they that's the thing. You don't get good enough. You don't get great draft picks. They're not in a position to really sign superstars, so they're just kind of they've been stuck in that no man's land.
I wonder.
That's what happened. Happens with a lot of teams. Like, you kind of get in that thing, and you're like, we're making the playoffs every year. We don't want to blow it up, but we're not able to really improve to become one of the elites.
I wonder how he's received in Atlanta. I'm sure it's positive, but is he looked at as one of the greats of Atlanta sports lore? When you look at Trae Young, I mean, he's pretty much a perennial all-star. He's a fun player to watch. He's very animated. How is he perceived? I mean, I'm not there. You're not there. Or do fans of the Hawks look at it and go, okay, he's good, really good, but we haven't gotten much better. Like, we need to do something. We need to make a deal. We need to make a change. I know they had that one trade that they made with Utah a couple years ago. I mean, it didn't really do much, but I mean, it's like every year. It's like, okay, there's Trae Young, who from time to time.
Well, they tried the DeJounte Murray thing. They made that trade.
They did try the Murray thing. And I said from the get-go, that, I mean, not that I know everything, but I mean, I'm like, that ain't going to work. They both need the basketball, Murray and DeJounte Murray and Trae Young. But Trae Young, you know, every other game he's going to do something like that, right? Hit a big three to win and hit a half-court shot. He is exciting to watch, but I just wonder what the reception is of him as far as Atlanta athletes, professional athletes. Is he beloved or not?
It was the 21 playoffs when they went to the Eastern Conference Finals. Then they followed that up with 2 first-round losses, and then last year missed out on the playoffs altogether in Snyder's first year. Again, I guess they were the play-in last year and then lost and didn't go to the playoffs. But yeah, they're kind of stuck in that 35 to 45 win range and just kind of there. You're just there. Again, I don't know if you're them. I don't know what you do. Like, I don't know if you just because again, do you blow that up and say, well, it's not working, we got to start over, or do you, because again, it's hard to for where they are and their ability to go get people to really advance yourself up to the top of that.
Speaking of being stuck, and this team was clobbered with injuries this year, or was and is, but they did get Zion Williamson back. I talked about it earlier. Last night he returned to the New Orleans Pelicans, and Zion had a real nice game. 22 points, 6 rebounds. I think he had 7 assists, or 4 assists rather. But again, you cannot have a lot of faith that there's sustainability with Zion Williamson, who's hurt every single year. But you hope if you're New Orleans. That's a team that when they went out and made the moves that they made, the talent that they were able to bring in to New Orleans, I thought they would be a threat to win the West. I don't know if it's more so injuries than them being that competitive, but it's also, I think, the combination. It's been a bad combination. They've been trying to unload Brandon Ingram. But Zion is a force when he's on the court, just like John Morant is a force when he's on the court. And as much as Ja has not been on the court the last couple of years, Zion's worse. So I know you're stuck between a rock and a hard place if you're the Pelicans.
Yeah, that's
nobody's going to deal for
certainly
him.
if that roster was healthy like that, they could look at that. But yeah, will ever get that way. They won 49 games last year, but now they're 7-30, and this year's season is a lost season because of the number of injuries they've had. They've tried to trade Ingram, they've tried a lot of different things. It just hasn't worked out for them to figure it out. And again, this year just a disaster.
Yeah, McCollum is said to be possibly on the trading block this year, who would be a great pickup for most teams out there looking to make a legitimate run in the NBA playoffs. All right.
As long as he doesn't go to any team that plays the Grizzlies in the playoffs. He kills
Oh, you know he will. You know he will. We'll take a break. When we come back, hour 3, speaking of the Grizzlies, we'll open up with DeMichael Cole from the Commercial Appeal on the Grizzlies. Is there a trade to be made? What's the latest with the injuries? We'll talk to DeMichael about that. And then Parthu Pajai at 9:25 on Memphis Tigers Hoops. You're tuned in to Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Fall is football at the Owner's Box Sports Bar and Grill in Lakeland, Town Square. Monday through Friday, it's happy hour from 3 to 6. $1 off all draft games, $5 off will drinks, $4.50 for house wine, mozzarella sticks, quesos, $1 today. Friday night lights from 7 o'clock. Dining and mozzarella Wednesday, $5 free. Watch college football every home game. Owner's Box Sports Bar and Grill in Lakeland, Highway 70. Fall is football.
Progressive Cars
Girl, you are not 37.
I would have guessed 27.
You guys are too sweet.
Sure, dewy skin. Terrific.
Is something wrong there?
Why would you ask? Just because today marks my 10th anniversary without a car accident or even a speeding ticket? But somehow, tonight's all about your skincare.
Wow. With Snapshot from Progressive, you can get a personalized rate based on how you drive. And that's all the validation you need. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Snapshot not available in California from all agents. Surcharge possible for unsafe driving.
They're finally gone. The holidays are over, and your relatives have finally gone back to where they live, and you're free to live the way you want to live. Visiting Bell Tavern, Memphis' perfect downtown neighborhood bar, as often as possible. We both know that during the holidays, you hauled your out-of-towners to Bell Tavern, and they had a great time. Couldn't stop talking about Bell Tavern. But now, you can be at Bell Tavern without having to tiptoe around politics, because no one at Bell Tavern has any interest in talking about politics. Leave politics outside of the bar. And your relatives.
Good morning. A couple of accidents out here. They're clearing stages. It remains a little bit busy with some volume on 40 westbound, like it normally does this time of the morning from Germantown Parkway all the way to Sycamore View Road. There's still some traffic trying to get in right now from Collierville, coming down certain sections of 385 Billmores Parkway, approaching 240. Weimer's Jewelry, serving the Memphis area for over 40 years, no matter what the occasion is. Go by and see them today and save a lot of money at Weimer's Jewelry on Highway 64. I'm Commander Chuck. You're on-time traffic.
WHBQ Memphis and W253DF Memphis with Brett Norsworthy and Brian Dacus. Weekday afternoons from 3 to 6.
Welcome back, everyone. 9:01 the time. Final hour for us today here on this Wednesday, January 8th, 2025 edition of Sports 56 Mornings. Greg Gaston, Eli Savoy, Elijah Seegers with you. We're broadcasting live from the Family Leisure Studios. The floor model sale going on at Family Leisure right now. They're dumping all that 2024 inventory with great deals for you. They got to get rid of it. They got to make room for 2025. All floor models up to 50% off. Take advantage of it. 2120 Whitten Road, just north of I-40. Currently 26 degrees. It will get up to 33 today. That is it. Tonight, 19 for a low. Mainly clear skies. And then Thursday, you're looking at a little bit of sun, a little bit of clouds, about a 39-degree high temperature. And then the overnight Thursday into Friday looks to be a snow affair. Looks to be like a snow affair. And could be some big accumulation possibly. So keep an eye on that as we get closer to Friday. Third hour of the program is brought to you each and every day by Jenkins Floors and More. They're located at 2356 Goodman Road in Horn Lake. That's a short trip from anywhere in the metropolitan Memphis area. They also have stores in Cleveland, Mississippi, and Little Rock, Arkansas. A business that started about 8 years ago has really blossomed because of the quality of work that they do, the attention to detail, and their pricing. They sell at wholesale. Skip the middleman, going to save you lots of money in the process. They specialize in flooring and carpeting, hardwoods by Portercraft, carpeting from Southern Luxury Carpet, ceramic and porcelain tiles, backsplashes for your kitchens and bathrooms, all kinds of great stuff at Jenkins Floors and More. So if you're a contractor, a do-it-yourself homeowner, it makes sense to buy your material there and then get the job done cheaper. But also, if you don't do the job. In other words, you're like me. You need help. You need somebody to do it for you. Jenkins can do it for you. They will come to you, give you a free estimate, and they'll get the job done in an unheard of 2-week turnaround. So 2 weeks, they'll have the job done for you. It makes a lot of sense to go with Jenkins Floors and More when you're looking for that new flooring, that new carpeting. Financing is available. Military and first responders, you get 10% off. Sports 56 listeners ask about your family discount. Give them a call at 662-469-9350. They're open Monday through Saturday. Jenkins Floors and More. It is time now to talk some Memphis Grizzlies basketball with DeMichael Cole.
It's time to talk some Grizzlies basketball. Joining Greg and Eli is DeMichael Cole, Grizzlies beat writer for the Commercial Appeal. Here's DeMichael with Greg and Eli.
He is the outstanding Grizzlies beat writer for the Commercial Appeal, also part of the Locked On Grizzlies podcast. He's a co-host on that. He is DeMichael Cole. He joins us each and every Wednesday all year long to talk Grizzlies. You can follow him on Twitter at DeMichael C. Good morning, DeMichael.
Good morning. Good morning. How we doing?
Doing fantastic. Lots to talk about. Lots to talk about as far as the injuries and the progress for some of the walking wounded. But I want to start with the trade. And there's nothing out there. There's nothing imminent. But we certainly have heard the rumors. It looks like Chris Haynes shut down the Jimmy Butler rumors pretty quickly. But is there something that is on the horizon, something that you think could happen for the Grizzlies?
On the horizon, as of right now, no, but potentially there could be. I think right now they're just, kind of in a more wait and see approach. Seeing what the market's going to be, seeing what G.G. Jackson, Vince Williams, potentially those guys will look like when they get back. That's the main thing, because if G.G. Jackson and Vince Williams come back and they're playing really, really well, they're not going to be as aggressive. But if those guys come back and, it's clear, even if they're playing decent, but it's clear they're not ready for playoff basketball, that's going to make the Grizzlies probably be more aggressive.
From what you have heard talking to your people, whatever, do you believe there's anything at all in the Jimmy Butler universe, or was that just some sports book that decided to put the Grizzlies as a possible or like the best odds to get him?
There wasn't a lot to it. The Grizzlies never made an offer for Jimmy Butler, so maybe there was some preliminary conversations or whatever the case may be. But to my understanding, it wasn't something where they were close to striking the deal, and the Grizzlies were, telling them, this is what we would offer or anything like that. So, it was. I guess it was just more so, like you said, it was the sports book saying, you know what, there's a team out there that's number 2 in the West, and they are starting a rookie at the position that Jimmy Butler plays, and they have the financial and they have the assets to make this thing work. So they made sense from a, who can trade for Jimmy Butler, who needs a player at that position standpoint. So I don't think the Grizzlies, it's not like the Dorian Finney-Smith situation. Like what you heard about that, they were heavily involved in those conversations. That was not the case with Jimmy Butler.
What about the story that came out, and I forget who had it, that there was some sort of problem between the Grizzlies and the Nets in that Dorian Finney-Smith trade that ultimately sent him to Los Angeles?
Sort of problem. I mean,
what was it, Eli, they said about that?
Well, Windhorst said there were some hard feelings.
Hard feelings.
But he didn't elaborate anything more on that.
Yeah, not to my understanding. What I know is the Grizzlies did make their offer, and eventually the Lakers came in. The Lakers made a better offer, and the Grizzlies stood firm on their offer, and that was pretty much the end of that. And that's kind of nothing new with the Grizzlies, honestly. Zach Kleiman has said it for a while, and that the Grizzlies, they're not really going to be in bidding wars and stuff like that. Now, that's something that some people will agree with, some people will disagree with, because some people may feel like at some point you need to, go above and beyond to get that player that's going to put you over the hump. But some people say, you know what, from a value standpoint, that makes a lot of sense. So, to my understanding, that's pretty much what it was. The Grizzlies made their offer. They were much closer than the Lakers on striking a deal for a while, and then the Lakers came in, of course, made a stronger offer, and the Grizzlies stood firm. And I don't even think the Grizzlies expected them to take that offer at that point.
Other than like Ja, Jaren, Desmond, do you think there's anybody on this roster who's untouchable?
Untouchable. Ja, I mean, maybe Gigi, as of right now, because I just don't see there being even a deal for a star player where the Grizzlies would trade Gigi right now, since they have some other assets. At this point, now that could potentially change, but he's on a 4-year contract that's relatively cheap. I don't think you want to let that go right now, especially considering that you're going to be a tax team in the coming years. So any of those value contracts that you have will be really important.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that come up when talking about the Grizzlies. You made a great point to open up this segment about the team wanting to wait and see what they have, because there has been a lot of combinations that they haven't really seen much of, if at all, because of injuries and things like that. So they want to see what they have before making any kind of a move. The other thing is that they certainly don't want to pay tax, so I don't expect them to make some blockbuster trade. But my biggest question always is about a team is, do you think you have a championship caliber team? Not do you think they can make a run, but do you believe you have a team that can win it all? And when I look at this Grizzlies team, and again, we haven't seen some of these combinations that will be used hopefully sooner than later when the guys come back from injury. But I look at them and I go, are they better than Oklahoma City? I don't think they are. So if I can find a deal that betters my team and betters my chances, I make the trade. I would think that's how the front office would work.
Yeah, I think your thinking is not too far off of what they're thinking. It's all about making the team better at this point. Look, like I said, Gigi Jackson and Vince Williams, if those dudes come back playing extremely well, then, that's going to matter. But at the same time, they're definitely looking for guys who can come in and be impactful players, in a playoff rotation. So I think, what you said pretty much aligns with how I believe they'll approach, this trade deadline. Like, they're going to be aggressive because they feel like the window is there. And if you're looking at right now with the standings in the West, it's not a lot of room in there, but there's a little separation. Like, between OKC and the rest, there's some separation. And then 2 and 3, Houston and the Grizzlies have like 3 games on the rest of the teams that are behind them. So the Grizzlies are firmly in that 2 to 3 seed range right now. And if you're going to be there, the goal should be to win the thing, right? Like,
exactly.
That should be the goal. And they're going to be in that position. So you got to aim to be better than OKC. We haven't seen them match up against each other just yet, so to speak. I know there's going to be a game that comes right after the trade deadline or whatever. But yeah, I do think, when you look at the Grizzlies lineup or whatever, it's going to be Ja, it's going to be Dez, it's going to be Jaren Jackson Jr., it's going to be, Zach Edey and Brandon Clark at center, the one position where you don't know, that you just don't, like, it very well could be Jalen Wells. It could continue to be Jalen Wells. It could, who knows, it could end up being Marcus Smart. It could end up being Vince Williams. It could end up being an outside player. The point is, that's the position where the Grizzlies could potentially look to solidify, and it wouldn't be it's going to be this guy, it's going to be that guy.
Right.
It's going to be we know every game, this guy's going to be the starting three. He's going to be an impactful playoff player, and that's what it comes down to.
So with Gigi, I believe we're at the 5-week mark from when they said it was going to be 6 to 8. Obviously, with practice with the hustle yesterday. So do you expect that we're going to kind of see him at the more towards that 6-week mark here sometime soon?
Yeah, I definitely think so. Been watching him closely lately, and he's looked good. Gigi is definitely making a lot of progress. We were out there on the West Coast trip. He was doing a lot of basketball activity and stuff. So I definitely think Gigi is getting closer. Clearly, closer than Vince Williams here.
And what about Ja? How much longer do you think with him?
It's tricky because he's doing some basketball activity now. They're putting him on the court, so they practice today. So that's going to be a telling one for him because if he goes through that practice and if they put him in contact situations and things like that, then it'll be much sooner. Potentially even the next couple games or something like that. But we saw him warming up before the last game, and he was shooting the basketball. There seems to be a little restriction, if you ask me. Like he'll kind of shrug his shoulder off after a couple shots every now and then, as if something was still bothering him a little bit. So nothing, wild, but just you can still it's still there. So if that's the case on non-contact shots, I think today's just going to be really telling. After today, we'll have a much clearer picture because they practiced today, and we'll know if he's going to get into contact stuff. Because that's the key with this injury. Once he gets into contact, they'll be able to firmly know when he'll be back.
Well, the key is once he gets back, does he stay on the court? And that's becoming an alarming issue of whether or not he can sustain enough games before he ultimately physically gets knocked out of a game again. That's my worry about him. He's not exactly Zion, but he's starting to get hurt a lot and he's a tough kid, but my gosh, he's not the biggest guy in the world, and he plays with some reckless abandon, although he has brought it back this year. He's dialed it back a bit. But that's my concern, because if you don't have Ja, you have no chance to win an NBA title. If you have Ja, you definitely have a chance. So hopefully he gets back out there and he can stay on the court, DeMichael. But that's a concern.
Yeah, and like you said, it's something that he's conscious of. I go back to the preseason and a lot of the conversations that we had. Ja wasn't saying, I want to win MVP. He wasn't saying, I want to, average this many points or average this many assists. He was saying, I want to be available.
Mm-hmm.
I want to win a championship. I want to be available. Being available is what he constantly harps on. It's why he pretty much said he's not dunking, and things like that. So it's not for a lack of effort. So
right.
This is where, I agree with you on the fact that it is alarming because you're noticing that he isn't, he is changing his style or he's being more cautious of the fact that he's, been injured a lot lately, and it's still happening. So I think pretty much the rest of the season, you want to see Ja string together, a bunch of games here, not 4 or 5 before he gets injured again. You want to see Ja play pretty much a long stretch and kind of take care of himself over the course of this.
And your point is well taken because you know him a lot better than I do. He is, to me, from outside looking in, a very unselfish player. And to have that type of star who is unselfish and does legitimately care about winning over stats says an awful lot about Ja Morant.
Yeah, for sure. And, and that's why this is so tough on him. Like, I think, every time he gets hurt, he comes back and he talks about how, it's good watching guys succeed when he's out, but at the same time, it's tough.
Frustrating.
He wants to play. He wants to help this team win, especially when you're playing games like you did against Golden State. You feel like, man, if I was out there, or the Sacramento game, I could make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
You talked about the 3 position, and let's say there isn't a move. Let's say they don't make a trade, but everybody is healthy. What would your guess be as to who ends up being the starter at that 3?
I mean, right now, they're not going to. I don't think they'll change anything. Now, the starter and the closer are two different things. The starter, I think it'll continue to be Jalen Wells, at least for the time being. The closer, I mean, I want to say Vince Williams, but you got to be realistic. You got to be very mindful that Vince Williams hasn't played much basketball almost in a year now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he played a couple games, but we're going on. It was March of last year when he was declared out for the rest of the season. Had to rehab, came back, got hurt again.
Mm-hmm.
So you question if he's going to be the same player, let alone be a better player than the one that we saw last season. But if he is, a guy who takes that typical jump, second to third year, I think he has a lot of the things that they need. He's not afraid to shoot. He's going to play defense. But the difference between Vince Williams and all of the other so-said candidates, if you list all of the candidates for this position, all of them are missing one of these 3 categories. If you talk about guys that can defend, shoot, and play make, only one of them fills all 3 of those boxes. That's Vince Williams Jr. He's the only one who averages, over 3 assists a game, who can shoot, at a proficient level, and the defense, we see it. Jalen Wells, really good shooter, solid defender. Last I checked was averaging under 2 assists a game. He just hasn't, and it'll come in time probably for him, but it's not there yet. So when you get to, because I'm talking playoffs, right?
Mm-hmm,
like when you get to the playoffs, teams will attack that, and they're going to put him in those positions, and that's what they do. And Vince Williams had a stretch last season. We talk about how beneficial last season was for Jaren. Vince Williams had a stretch where he pretty much played point guard, and he was getting over 5 assists pretty much every game. So he's able to be kind of that secondary facilitator that you're going to need Dez to be, that you're going to need Vince to be, to kind of alleviate some of the pressure off of Ja. Whereas, same with Gigi Jackson. Like, Gigi Jackson can score. He's 235 now, guys. Like, he put on some muscle. I talked to him about it not too long ago. He's going to be able to defend, but the question is going to come down to the playmaking part of it. And with Marcus, he can play make, he can defend, but it's going to be a question about the shooting.
Yeah.
So, it's of those 3 things, I think Vince Williams is the one right now who answers the most questions. So I feel like he'll be the closer, but I think Jalen Wells will continue to start.
That is a great assessment, because I was going to ask that question as well. That's the one I'm really curious. I think we're all curious about. All right, final thing for you. I don't want to speak for you, but I would imagine you're in the same boat as Eli and myself, that Jaren Jackson Jr. should be a member of the Western Conference All-Star team. The question, though, is, and I'm sure you've done it already, DeMichael, started to look at the other possibilities. He's not going to win voting-wise. He's not going to be a starter. So will he be one of the 7 named from the coaches? Again, I think he deserves, but will he be?
I think so. The coaches have a lot of respect for Jaren. If it was flipped around or whatever, if it was up to like the media or the fans, it might be a little bit more up in the air. But coaches know when you game plan, how much you got to account for Jaren Jackson Jr. and what he does on the offensive end as one of the best isolation scorers in the league. What he does, from a playmaking perspective as a defender, he's getting, over 1.5 steals and over 1.5 blocks per game. Like, he's really good. So I think, it's only him, Wemby, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, guys that are averaging over a steal, a block, and a 3-point made per game, while averaging over 20 points.
Right.
He's in some red territory. But yeah, I think you're going to see Joker, of course, being there. Anthony Davis, Wemby, and then after that, it's fair game.
Well, Durant's probably going to be voted in, right?
Oh yeah, front court. I keep thinking power forward and centers instead of thinking the small forwards like LeBron and Kevin Durant and whatnot. But yeah, you throw those couple guys in there, and then I say it's fair game. He should be that six bigger. So because it's going to come down to like him and Sabonis,
Şengün and with Jalen Williams.
Şengün, yep, Jalen Williams, and I think when you throw those names in a hat, right now, Jaren Şengün may be the best competition because Houston, he's their best bet to be an All-Star, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And
exactly.
it's going to look kind of weird if Houston doesn't get an All-Star. Like it's just, but at the same time, Jaren Jackson Jr. right now is the Grizzlies' best bet.
Exactly.
So I think he's putting up a really good case, and considering he won Western Conference Player of the Month, he's in a good position.
Great stuff. He's DeMichael Cole from the Commercial Appeal, the Memphis Grizzlies beat writer. You can also check out the podcast, the Locked On Grizz podcast. He joins us every single Wednesday. DeMichael, thank you so much. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you next week.
All right, take care, guys.
You too. Yeah, I'm right with him on everything he said about that small forward position for the Grizzlies and the direction they may go in. And then, of course, with Jaren Jackson Jr. But again, just that I always worry about the tendency to go with a bigger name. But Jaren Jackson Jr. deserves a spot on the All-Star team for the Western Conference. When we come back, we're talking Memphis Tigers hoops with Parthu Pajai from the Daily Memphian. This is Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Join the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin, for Wolo and Friends. Weekday mornings from 10 to 11 here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Since 1948, in the alley, the Rendezvous. I'm with John Burgess. John, what's going on in the Rendezvous? Well, there's some things about the Rendezvous I'm going to talk about. For example, we make it really easy to park. We have valet parking right at Monroe Street in our alley. We also want to make it easy for people to get to doors. You can now park in our alley right at our front door and put your flashers on. People also forget that we take reservations for 6 or more. And we have a wonderful party room upstairs that can accommodate people for rehearsal dinners, birthday parties, reunions, graduations. Our rooms seat between 25 and 275 people. And everything at the Rendezvous can be packed to go. But we also do catering. See our menu online, and we can even deliver for groups of 15 or more. So if you have any questions, always feel free to call us at the Rendezvous because we answer our phone ourselves. You'll never hear. Please listen carefully for our menu has changed. Press 1 for reservations, press 2 for hours, press 3 for catering, or if you know your party's 9-digit extension number and the first 3 letters of their mother's maiden name, dial it now. Come see us at the Rendezvous. Since 1948, the Rendezvous.
They're taking care of beerness in Memphis, right on the river with Grind City Brewing and all of their great products. Look, this was a dream come true for a father and son duo. And if you have not been to that brewery right on the river, just to the north of downtown, you're really missing something special. And now you can't miss their products. Wherever you go, you see a brand new label. It's clean, it's beautiful, it's distinctive. You'll know Grind City Brewing, and of course you know their products like Poppy's Pills, that great Pilsner, or Tiger Tail, that very creative craft malt liquor. There's the new Thaddeus Amber Lager. That is absolutely a great light beer. There's the India Pale called Godhopper. It's outstanding. And then there's the Belga, the Belgian-style wheat ale. They keep bringing hits at Grind City Brewing.
Jake from State Farm. I just beat my running PR, so I'm celebrating with the Banana Bonanza smoothie.
Hey, and you can keep celebrating when you create an affordable price just for you by bundling your home and auto with the State Farm Personal Price Plan. Go bananas.
I will. Hey, make it a lunch.
Just another way to save with the Personal Price Plan. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Prices are based on rating plans and vary by state. Coverage options are selected by the customer. Availability, amount of discounts and savings, and eligibility vary by state.
Hi, this is Troy Five-Ash, owner of Five-Ash Roofing. Did you know there are so many roofing companies in Memphis that I don't even know them all? So that begs the question, which one should you choose? So I thought I'd give you a little background about me. My grandfather was a World War II Marine. My father worked for the University of Memphis for nearly 30 years. My mother, a pianist at Raleigh Baptist Church. Seems like forever. I went to Brownsville Road, Craigmont, and Bartlett High School, class of 81. We support the local school systems, youth athletics, and believe in what St. Jude and Le Bonheur stand for. I'm a Tiger and Grizz fan. The point? Memphis is my home. Bob Ash Roofing will be around if you ever have a problem with the service we provide. Bob Ash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical, with deep local ties in our community. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Bob Ash Roofing is what we do. We're here for you.
Now back to Sports 56 Mornings on Sports 56 and 98.5 This hour brought to you by Champions Sports. Here once again are Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
Welcome back, everybody. 9:29 the time. Our final half hour here on Sports 56 Mornings. Tomorrow, John Crispin's going to join us. He's been on the call for a couple of Tigers games this year as the analyst from ESPN. We'll get his thoughts on the Tigers. Kerry Miller at 8:25 on college basketball, a little baseball as well. And then we're wrapping up the season, but the AutoZone Liberty Bowl Inside College Football Hour continues. It'll be tomorrow from 9 until 10 with Harold Grader. Right now, it's time for Parthu Pajai.
It's time to talk Memphis Tigers basketball. Joining Greg and Eli is Parth Upadhyay, the Tigers beat reporter for the Daily Memphian. Now here's Parth with Greg and Eli.
He is the always dapper Parth Upadhyay from the Daily Memphian. Make sure to follow him on Twitter. I'll spell it out for you at PUPADHYAYA_. He does a fantastic job covering the Tigers, and he does a fantastic job with us each and every week. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are y'all?
You need to write a travel guide for your different stops this year. You were just in Boca.
Man, I was thinking about it the other day. Just the 3 seasons I've been here. This is my third. I've been to the Dominican Republic. I've been to the Bahamas. I just went to Maui, Vegas, Boca Raton twice, and then not to mention all the other cool cities in the American. You know, Philly and Dallas,
San Francisco.
Yeah. I mean,
my gosh,
the list goes on and on. It's been fun.
So
it's been fun.
Okay, I assume Hawaii's number one.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
So who's number two?
Bahamas.
Bahamas.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty hard to.
That Battle for Atlantis trip was.
That's a pretty good combination.
It is. Boca's a pretty beautiful
Wait, no,
city.
I'm sorry. No, number 2. I think. That's a good question.
I've been to the
number
Dominican
1 might
Republic.
be the DR was amazing.
DR was great.
Yeah.
But I've been to Hawaii a couple of times. Hawaii's still over the DR in my opinion. I've never been to the Bahamas.
Close.
Never been to the Bahamas.
So I'd go. Let's go Maui.
Okay.
Let's go La Romana, Dominican Republic,
Okay.
and then we'll do Bahamas.
Bahamas third.
Bahamas third.
I've never asked you this question. I always think I always forget to ask you, John. Your handle on X. Why do you have to? Was P.U. Pajai taken, and so you had to put the underscore on
No,
the end of it?
I believe it was. I had to do something because
that seems so weird that would have been taken, and you had to throw an underscore on the end of that name of all things.
I think I had to, but when I went back and because somebody asked me the same question a few months back, and I went and checked, I don't see the original P.U. Pajai anymore. So I want to change it back, but at this point, my Instagram, my Twitter, everything's
it's a pain in the butt.
underscore. So I don't want to have to rebrand.
There was an imposter Parth out
That
there.
is one hell of a coincidence if that was taken before. I was like, that's crazy that would be taken.
No, I was mind blown too. Yeah.
All right, so the Tigers off to a good start, 2-0 in conference play. The North Texas game, we thought it would be fairly tight. It ended up being very tight, but they absolutely blew Florida Atlantic out of the water down in Boca Raton. A really good performance. I think that was a statement game. So how would you assess the start of conference play?
I think you got to give it a. I mean, are you asking me to grade it or just?
Well, just your thoughts on it.
I think it's a very positive start, especially going to Boca on the road. FAU being, I know it's not a great conference, it's an awful conference actually, but FAU being one of the better teams in an awful conference, you go there and just leave no doubt. You take that crowd out of it kind of right away. I think it was 14-5 in a matter of minutes. Obviously ended up being a 28-point win. And I think just the approach, like we heard, and I'm sure you guys went back and listened or whatever, but Penny talking to media after the game in Boca, and we asked him about keeping the team's foot on the gas, right? And when that lead was, I think it was 20-something and it had gotten down to 15 midway through the second half, they went to their press. They didn't say, okay, we still have a 15-point lead. No, that next inbounds, that FAU inbounded the ball, Memphis was pressing. 3/4 full court. And Penny just talked about, like, not only worrying about winning in this conference, but worrying about the margins of victory because he knows how much that means to
Yes.
the net, to Ken Pom, to all these factors that are going to determine what seed this team gets come March.
The game against North Texas, they were not able to ever pull away.
No.
But they got locked in a game that was the North Texas style. North Texas they refuse to let you run. They're just going to make sure that game is played at their pace.
Yep.
Now, even though they weren't able to play, they still get the win. But those are the games. I mean, and nobody likes to play those games. No team other than the select few who actually play those. But
North Texas.
like you get a team like that, they just it's annoying to play that style.
It is annoying. And I guess you can look at it two ways, right? Like you can be concerned and say, okay, Memphis has struggled with the likes of Virginia and North Texas, both teams that play that slow, methodical pace, limit possessions, limit shots. Or you can say, hey, this team has shown it can win in a variety of ways.
Yes.
It can put up 99, obviously in overtime, against UConn. It can, score a bunch against Ole Miss. It can get up and down the court when it wants to, but it can also win rock fights. When games kind of get in the mud, get dirty, it can pull those out too. And I think it's just not that North Texas is good, because I don't think North Texas is a good team. I don't think that's I'm sure they'll be competitive in the American, but
It's not an NCAA tournament team.
exactly. That's probably the best way to put it. But the way they defend and their physicality, I think that really bothered Memphis, and it was just a matchup issue more so than struggling with the team overall.
And speaking of matchup issues, I thought the adjustment that Penny and the staff made going small ball with the four guards and Danger didn't start Cisse and Haggerty to begin the second half. Koji got the start. I thought that adjustment was really big.
Yeah, no doubt. I think just
trying to speed it up a little bit.
The scoring that Dane provides. And we've talked about this before on this show. When Dane is out there versus Musa, the offense kind of flows a little bit better, right? Things just open up a bit because of Dane's ability to pass, although we talked about that as well off the air, that
the turnovers, yes,
it would be like a black hole when he would get that ball.
Right. He's got to cut those turnovers down. But yeah, he's pretty much instant offense. He gets the ball in the paint. He's got that first quick step, and he'll score you 14, 16 a game, and they needed that.
I mean, that first step is crazy for a guy who's 6'9", 240, whatever he is. It's crazy.
Sometimes that's when he loses the basketball.
Right.
Kind of.
He had a beautiful spin move the other day. He just didn't have the basketball with him anymore.
Spin the ball out. Spin the ball over the baseline.
He left the dude. He just also left the basketball. That's the problem.
Yeah.
We had a texter on Monday that said that game against North Texas was a game last year's team would have lost. Would you agree with that?
I think that's a fair assessment. I don't think last year's team had the mental fortitude and grittiness and toughness and tenacity, right, to pull that one out. I think this team, when it got to crunch time, not only are they willing to defend, dive for loose balls, Musa Cisse dove for a loose ball, block shots, get in people's faces, but when it does get to that time where, hey, we got to figure this out, those roles are already defined. Whereas last year's team, there were, 5 guys who thought they should be taking the last shot? This year, kind of who your alpha is, PJ Haggerty, and who, your 1B is, being Tyrese Hunter, and then everybody else kind of falls afterward. And I think these guys have understood that from almost day one.
Yeah, they know their roles, and they don't stray too far from it. Parthu Pajai joining us in studio. Okay, you mentioned Haggerty. The desperation 30-footer he put up, which to me, that kind of sealed the deal, even though they still had to make some plays down the stretch. But that guy is just a bucket getter. He is a player that you can count on through and through all tough times and good times. That guy just knows how to put the ball in the basket.
It was. I mean, I was surprised that it went in. I know he's done miraculous things all season offensively. He scored in the 20s and 30s and whatever. But man, that shot, it was a prayer. It was a heave, right? It was from damn near the logo.
It looked like it when it left his hand. I thought he threw it straight in the air. It was so high.
Exactly.
I was like, "That's no way that's getting to the rim."
It was from the Tiger Claw mark, almost half court line logo, and it was. I thought I was going to hit the freaking lights of the forum.
Well, I wasn't feeling well on Sunday, so I watched the game on TV. I didn't go down to FedEx Forum, and when he launched it, I got to be honest with you guys. I thought it was going in. And it
Really?
went in.
Okay.
Yeah, just
Okay.
the arc I saw.
Man.
But it was amazing. He rattled it in, and
Yeah,
the crowd went
exactly.
crazy.
Man.
But that guy now named to the Wooden, I guess, finalists or
The mid-season watch list.
mid-season
Yeah,
25.
top 25 watch list,
So
yeah.
one of the top 25 players in the guy. He's everything that Penny thought he would be when he brought him in from Tulsa.
Yeah, no doubt. And man, like shout out to Penny's talent evaluation in the portal, right? Like you go from Kendrick Davis to David Jones, and now you got two of them. You got PJ Haggerty and Tyrese Hunter. That's not a bad run.
Right, and especially we had him on. We had Penny on here in the last 2 weeks. I think you know that. And I asked him about how he put together this team. Like, what was his thought process, kind of going through step by step? He didn't go exactly step by step, but he talked about how he wanted this guy and he wanted this guy for this role. But the roles were defined. Whereas last year he assessed he assessed a bunch of guys talent-wise and said, let's throw them all in there. You know, we'll see if we can make a stew out of all these ingredients, and it just didn't work out. That's why I think things will be different. But this week you got East Carolina. Again, getting up for these teams that are not good. How much of a challenge is that?
It's huge, and I think that's been one of the main talking points over the past 2-3 weeks as non-conference plays ended and conference plays started. Is it being more of a mind game than a physical game? Because if it's a physical game, if this is a video game, you know, let's say this is NBA 2K, right? Memphis would be, 91 overall, 89 overall. Every other team in the American would be 75 and under.
Right,
You know, if
right.
you're talking about just kind of
Right.
percentage of talent. And if you simulated it in a computer, Memphis would win. And we can see it in Ken Pom. Memphis would win every game. But that's not reality, right? Reality is these are, 20-something-year-old guys that have other stuff going on in life. And, it's hard to – it's human nature. It's hard to get up for – I mean, no offense to any team out there, but Tulsa or Rice or East Carolina.
Well, this Saturday, a perfect example. We're supposed to get snow on Friday. I don't know how much it will affect Saturday morning, but it will certainly affect people because people don't even want to go down when it's raining. We saw that the last couple of games. So it could be a smaller crowd. At least with North Texas, I think people knew they had a pulse in the league, like they were supposedly one of the better teams.
Second best team in the league, yes.
Yeah, East Carolina's not. So this is a lot of this, like you said, is going to be a mental challenge for these players, and that's on the coaching staff to try to get them up and fired up. Can Moussa Cisse go out there and play like he's playing against Ole Miss again?
Yeah.
I think it's hard to ask for. It's a lot
tough.
to ask for, I should say.
Not on your computer. Not only do they have a winning every game, there's only two of them they don't have a winning by double digits.
I'm looking at it right now. Yeah, that's nuts. And the one this Saturday, 18
Temple
points.
and UAB. No, there's three of them. Wichita State as well. 3 games that they don't have a winning by double digits.
Wow.
8-point margin is the smallest.
A couple of topics before we let you go that Penny talked about on his coach's show, his radio show on Monday. One was, again, something he's talked about before, trying to get Haggerty and Hunter and Rodgers more rest. Do you see that even possible? We know that Dante Harris was acquired mid-season, but he missed the last game, so not sure what his status is. It doesn't seem like he has a lot of faith in the freshman Jared Harris. Where do you see these minutes coming from for these guys to get a little rest?
I mean, you would hope it starts this Saturday against East Carolina. Like we said, Ken Pom has it as an 82-64 win. That's 18 points. If you're able to build, a 15-plus point lead by late first half, early second, then you can get some of those guys in, right? You get your Baraka Koji's more time, your Jared Harris's, your Dante Harris's, maybe even Dink Yates gets in.
Unless the Pirates go on a 6-0 run, then those guys will be out in a minute.
Exactly. And that's kind of how historically Penny has rotated his players in and out of games. But I will say this year it seems like he's kind of willing to stick with his guns, if that makes sense. Like he lets guys play through mistakes and kind of sees things through before yanking players in and out and putting a new 5 out there.
He made a great point also on Monday about turnovers, that if you're turning the ball over just about 15 times a game, which is one of the worst in the country.
I think it's 14 and a half or something like that, right? Yeah.
So that's possessions that you're giving away. That's shots you're not taking is what he said.
Yep.
So what did he say is the answer to try to cut that down?
Yeah, he didn't really go into detail, but he said that he'd be changing up a lot of things this week, with kind of the gap between games, having that 6-day gap. And he said that was kind of the biggest thing that he wanted to address is the giveaways.
What do you say about playing?
And they may be. When you talk about letting guys play through their mistakes, you may have to tone some of that down. When the guys make the dumb pass, the idiotic turnover that is just no reason for it, you may have to start pulling some guys out. Like, these are things we can't have.
But I think the question is, and Greg, you mentioned it, like, pulling them for who? Like, this is not a typical Penny Hardaway roster where you've got, 10 guys who could, reasonably start, right? You've got more clear roles, more defined roles, which is good, but then you've got the other end of that sword, which is, you've got 6 guys who you need to rely on.
No, you're absolutely right.
That's tough.
What was the statement he made? He said you could play fast but play smart or something like that. In other words,
you can play fast but not be in a hurry.
But
not be in a hurry.
Yeah, see, that makes an awful lot of sense.
It does.
Play fast but don't be in a hurry. In other words, you're getting up and down the court. But don't make there was the one pass, and I was surprised because it came from Tyrese Hunter, one of the veterans on the team, when he was driving the lane and he threw that no look into the corner and went into the first row.
Right. Yep.
I mean, again, that's when you're in a hurry. You could play fast but not be in a hurry. It makes an awful lot of sense. And then finally, Moussa Cisse was there. Had some interesting things to say about Penny
and his growth
now and Penny when he was a freshman out of Lausanne and joined the Tigers under Penny Hardaway. What was it that he had to say about Penny, and what do you think about his thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Moussa was here in 2020, 2021, I believe. His freshman year, that was Penny's third year as a college coach, and Moussa just said, he was asked about how is Penny Hardaway different, as a ball coach now versus 4 years ago, and the number one thing he pointed to was the way he holds guys accountable, right, and the way he's not afraid of getting guys' grill. And kind of be that bad cop, that enforcer, versus maybe 4 years ago, he was more lax, kind of. He's still a player's coach, but more of a friendly type vibe than an enforcer. And he got, I think the way Moussa phrased it was, he has a lot of love for guys, and guys had a lot of love for him, and sometimes, like, him receiving that love would make him want to, I don't want to say play the good cop role, but kind of be more friendly with guys than be that.
He gave him a longer. He gave him a longer leash.
Exactly, that's probably the best way to put it.
Eli, how many times did we talk about that?
He coached more like a professional, like an NBA thing. Like, these guys are like, not gonna. They'll kind of figure it out more type stuff. Me yelling at them, like that's what I kind of look at it as. It was more of an NBA approach than he has now.
Yeah, that's a great point. Now he holds them more responsible, and he talks about being is it a bad Penny or upset Penny? What is it, what's the saying?
Somebody asked him after the North Texas game, like, hey, what is there was that Ja Morant quote last season.
Yes,
happy Ja is a scary Ja.
Right.
Somebody asked Penny. The inverse of that, like, what is, if a happy Ja is a scary Ja, what is an angry Penny? Is what they.
Yeah, and we already know that Penny it was Camp Penny just a couple of weeks ago, which reminded me of the days of John Calipari here in Memphis with Camp Cal. It was a stern, tough Penny Hardaway, and for those that are not used to that, probably a bit taken back, a bit surprised. But I like that he's not.
Me too, and me too.
Yeah, I mean, it was nice when he started out coaching. And more of an NBA approach because that's what he knew. But now it's a lot different. I think he has really matured as a human being, as a coach. His growth is unbelievable.
Remarkable.
Parth, great stuff as always. We really appreciate it. Make sure to read Parth's stories on the Memphis Tigers men's basketball team at the Daily Memphian. Of course, follow him on Saturday as the Tigers take on East Carolina. And listen to him every single Wednesday right here on Sports 56 Mornings. Thank you, Parth.
Hey, thanks, y'all.
Appreciate it. We'll take a timeout, come back and wrap things up for this Wednesday. This is Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Sometimes I wish I had a gun.
Well, I'm armed, but before I bought one, I still went to Top Gun Academy to learn to protect myself without a gun.
How is that possible?
Top Gun's personal protection training. It's perfect if you want to protect yourself without firearms.
I don't know.
And it's perfect if you feel the need to carry a gun for self-defense, because the last thing you really want to do is shoot.
That is scary.
Not at Top Gun. It's very comfortable, and you learn to load, handle, and shoot a handgun safely. Protect yourself. Go to Top Gun Academy. They're at 2770 Whitten Road.
Get your
I'm the service director at Lexus in Memphis. Our service department wants to be more than just a place where you get your oil changed. We do glass repair, windshield replacement, recalibration of your camera and sonar systems, even wheel repair, tire replacement, all the things you would expect from a luxury automotive dealer. Please check out our website. You can schedule your appointment, check out our specials, hours of operation, or if you'd like to do it in person, please reach out to one of our associates at 901-271-5199.
Do you know one of the best things you can do for your employees or family's health? Provide Arctic Clear bottled water. Arctic Clear bottled water is your locally owned and operated bottled water provider. Arctic Clear is 100% natural spring water with free delivery instead of dependable service and no long-term contracts. An easy choice. Call Jeff Menas today, 901-382-2363, or visit arctic-clear.com. Arctic Clear bottled water. Call them 382-2363. That's 382-2363.
Now back to Sports 56 mornings on Sports 56.
Welcome back, everybody. 9:50 the time. Final segment here on Sports 56 Mornings. Greg Gaston, Eli Savoy, and Elijah Seegers. Always good to talk with Parthu Pajai about Memphis Tigers basketball. Yeah, and I think that's the question the rest of the way. I don't believe, and we talked to Jerry Palm a little bit about this. He said, "You sure?" When I asked about, or when we were talking about Memphis being an anomaly, that's what I said. Last year's Memphis Tigers team being an anomaly, that they were so good in non-conference, and then they unfortunately imploded for several different reasons during the conference play. Why it happened, again, there are a number of things. We've talked about it ad nauseum. But I don't believe this team is close to what last team's team is, as far as their chemistry, their togetherness, their goals, individual goals. This is more team-oriented. So I would be shocked if we saw something similar to what we saw last year. So since they did the job non-conference, they're off to a good start in conference play. I think it'll be a lot different. But getting up for these games, this is going to be about Memphis. This is not about the opponent. With the exception, again, I still believe UAB is going to give Memphis a battle both times they play. They got that big. Was it Lendenborg? Lendenborg. I think. Look, we saw the big for North Texas, Sissoko, who's not that good, go for a career high inside with scoring points and taking advantage of a smaller Dane Danger, smaller compared to Musa Cisse, because Penny had adjusted and went with the smaller lineup to get his team up and down the court a little bit more of their pace rather than North Texas' pace. I thought that was the right move, but it cost them a little bit inside defensively because Danger is certainly not Cisse on the defensive end. And there's going to be a couple of teams who have bigs in this league, and one of them is certainly UAB. I think that'll be the biggest challenge. East Carolina is not a great basketball team. But, again, if you're not up for any of these teams, they'll come in here, they'll jump on you early, and then you got to figure it out. Hopefully that won't be the case.
Yeah, I get it. It is not easy to get up every single game, especially in a conference like this where you know you're supposed to kill every team, basically. Now, the good thing is you can have games where you don't play well and you still win.
Sure.
Because the teams just aren't good enough to beat you. And so that's what you hope, is that when you don't play well, whoever it is you're playing against, you are just still able to squeak out a win in some way because they're just that bad.
Yeah, I didn't think the Tigers played well against North Texas. I thought they were a B- maybe.
Like UTSA lost at home to Tulsa last night.
Right.
So I thought Tulsa is awful. I mean, UTSA must be just absolutely horrendous. I mean, some of these teams, I don't know, the Tigers could play bad basketball and still beat them probably.
Well, and some of these teams beat Memphis last year, right? Memphis finished 7th in the conference. So last year it was more on what the Tigers did to themselves, and I think this year it's more on the Tigers again deciding what they want to be. And I think this team is together. I think they're different. It's amazing how it always seems to be the quiet Tigers teams, the one where there's not much fanfare going into the season, that end up exceeding expectations. I don't know what the expectations were. If anybody says back in August they thought, oh, for sure that roster constituted definitely an NCAA tournament team, a team that was going to go out to Maui and beat Connecticut and Michigan State. They're full of you-know-what. But that is the case. And it just seems to be a well-constructed team where everybody knows their role and everybody's doing the best job they can do. They're not always playing at the top of their game. But when you can do that and still win, and the couple of times already that they have faced adversity, they lost to Arkansas State, they went out to Clemson and won. They lost to Mississippi State, they blew out Ole Miss. They've bounced back incredibly well from that. Now, we were talking about the coaching maturity of Penny and how he's holding players a little bit more responsible than he did maybe when he first started, more like an NBA coach. Mick Cronin, who lets his emotions fly, man. The former Cincinnati head coach, now he's been with UCLA for a number of years. UCLA lost to Michigan 94-75. Calls out his team, rants and raves, and calls them soft. There are some coaches that won't do that, especially in this day and age. I have no problem with a coach doing that. Speaking their mind, it is what it is. We're soft. We're playing soft. Going out and get... Look, Danny Hurley, they've won 2 straight national titles. I'm not saying just because you're real emotional always means you're going to be successful. But you look at some of these coaches that have lost their minds over the years. The Tom Izzos of the world. Calipari's got a natty.
Well, Cronin is
he's a maniac.
Cronin, that dude.
It's not Hurley, but he's close.
Oh, I'll never forget. I don't remember what tournament it was, but I was with Ole Miss at a tournament, and it was when he was at Cincinnati. They were playing before us, and at halftime of their game, him walking off the court, going to their locker room, and it literally, he just dog cussed a player from like mid-court till we couldn't see them anymore down the huddle or down the tunnel. Like
right.
it was just, I was like, my God, like I have no problem with yelling at players like that stuff like that. I think you have to. But I was like, at some point, I was like, I just feel terrible for this player. Like, I don't even know what you could do to deserve. And the thing is, they were up by like 20. like they were winning the game. I was like, what could that guy have possibly done? I was like, dude, just please let the poor kid just have a moment, can you? It would not stop.
He has a Napoleon complex. There's no question about it. But again, I want my coaches animated. And some players today don't want to hear that, but many of them, they certainly understand. They want to be coached. They don't want to be dog cussed, but it is what it is. If you have good results, we'll see how UCLA bounces back from that loss to Michigan. That's going to do it for us today. I want to thank our guests, Jerry Palm, DeMichael Cole, and Parth Upadhyay. Tomorrow, ESPN analyst John Crispin will join us. Kerry Miller from Bleacher Report, plus the AutoZone Liberty Bowl Inside College Football Hour with Harold Grader. Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 is coming up next. For Eli Savoy and Elijah Seegers, I'm Greg Gaston. Have a great day, everybody.